Hello again, friends! And you are our friends, and welcome back to another edition of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru right here. Whatever day of the week this is, wherever you are, we're here. For now, I'm your host, the great Brian Last, and joining me, as always, to illuminate the audience by answering their questions and review some shows and who knows what other trouble we'll get into, the leader of the cult of Cornette, Mr. Jim Cornette.
Well, you scared me with that one. You jolted me. You jolted me with that one, with your exuberance and the exuberosity in which you delivered that line, baby. I'm just morphing in and out of Dusty. Morphing, that's a word we'll talk about later on. Are you going to be the one to do it? This is your show. You should be the one to apologize / explain that we are late here in the week, because actually the experience from this past weekend just finished playing about 13 minutes ago. That was a big one. That was a long one, but we're late this week. It's your show, even though partially it's my fault. You should be the one to grovel this week.
Grovel about what?
Well, we missed we missed our time goal. You know, that's what at least they used to call it. Ronnie West, when he got mad at the wrestling business for a while after that daggum thing in Georgia didn't work out, right? And he got a job in, it was either in Cleveland, Tennessee, where he was from, or right down the road in Chattanooga, but with the local Wendy's, he became a manager of a Wendy's. And he said he was making more money there than he did in the wrestling business at that point. But he smartened me up when he finally, the wrestling bug bit him, and he came back to wrestling. He smartened me up on all the inside Wendy's lingo, the language, the carny that they speak, and everything. And remember, many years ago, before they smartened up that they never hit their time goal and it was just exposing them, they used to have a clock or a timer on the outside of the Wendy's drive-thru window when you pulled up.
Yeah, I remember.
And
that.
You gave your order, then it started running, so you could see how long it took them to hand you the shit. That was, if they didn't get it within, I think it was 3 minutes, they blew their time goal. And apparently, they blew those so many times that they just took all the timers off the windows. But also, he smartened me up that when they overcook the hamburger meat and they can't sell it as a burger anymore, they just break it up and put it in the chili.
That's no surprise.
That was 30 years ago. I don't think there's any meat in the chili anymore. Anyway, it's your show. You were going to pop. We're late this week.
We are. You're
not going to share any responsibility.
Well, you know, sometimes
one day was mine, one day was yours.
Right. My day was I had some family commitments. I had to take care of some stuff, and the other day, it's just one of those days. You wake up, you get a phone call at 7 a.m. Brian, what do you do when you have 10 dead hookers and the creek has no water in it? And I said, well, I don't know. Talk to the Monroes. What do you want?
No, that was not it at all. And I'm sorry that you did have on Monday, you had to have a member of your family committed, and we hate to hear that.
that was not the commitment. No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you know, that was the typical verbiage. Every time you have somebody in the family committed, you've had a family commitment. But nevertheless, yesterday I had no power here. I had no electricity at the castle from 8 o'clock in the morning until 8:30 last night. And it's not that I didn't pay the bill. We've got 2 circuit breaker boxes in the laundry room out off the garage there. We got the 2 circuit breaker boxes. But over the years, as we've added things, and we just added the gate a couple of years ago, and the column lights, and we put some outdoor lighting, and I'm going to be doing some other stuff, right? We were maxed out. We had no extra circuits. We were giving her all she got, Captain. A funny thing, I can't get enough server, I can't get enough electricity. But anyway, so they said, well, we need to rewire your breaker boxes and give you more space, more juice, whatever the phrase is, right? I said, okay, but to do that, they obviously had to turn all of the electricity of the house off, and they had to rewire both these boxes, and plus they were doing some other shit. We had a situation in the kitchen, sort of like a Green Acres thing, because just the way it worked out where we've got shit spaced out, all of the deep fryer and the place where I used the Foreman grill and the microwave, everything was on the same circuit. So if you use the countertop light and the deep fryer and the Foreman grill at the same time while somebody wants to use the microwave, boom, you've tripped the breaker. It's like a 2 and a 3 and a 6. You remember that from Green Acres. You can't plug in more than a 6. You know what I'm talking about.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't know that in the kitchen of the Douglas home, like the teapot was a 1, but the blender was a 3, and they gave each electronic device a number, and you couldn't plug in anything to total more than a 6, or elsewise it would blow the fuses. You've never seen that episode.
I watched a lot of Green Acres on Nick at Night as a kid, and all I remember is a song.
Well, Green Acres is the place to be, but nevertheless. So, I wanted to put me a new plug in exclusively for my microwave. So what they had to do was, they went through the back of the laundry room wall into the TV room tray ceiling. Then they ran a wire around the tray ceiling of the TV room to the other side, and then in through the wall into the kitchen pantry closet, then down behind that door so you can't see the wire, through the floor, into the crawl space, across the crawl space, and up underneath the microwave, where there was an old phone jack plug, and they pulled it because we don't plug the phone in there anymore. I plug it in up here in the office like everybody does now. In your office is where you plug your phone in. Anyway, they pulled the phone wires out of the old phone plug where the phone would plug in the wall and made it an electrical plug just for my microwave. And that was a slick piece of business. And they did a bunch of other stuff too. And then they labeled everything. So it was a long day, but I had no power. I was cut off from the outside world. And as Stace and Harley had gone to visit friends, so Harley could run with the hounds and they could have, wine and cheese and everything while I'm sitting here supervising the crew of electricians. Somebody tweeted and said, "Did you have the Monroe brothers do the electric work?" How stupid would that be?
Who tweeted that?
Well, several people asking, and I said, no, the Monroe brothers are not licensed electricians. That would be stupid. I went with Schleppinger and Sons. They're one of the oldest firms in town. Yeah, they were started by old Winston Schleppinger back in 1904. It was just Schleppingers then, without the Sons, because he didn't have some. Then he had Sons a short time afterwards, and actually, the Sons that carried on, they're twins. They're the ones that came out and did the work. They're the original Sons. He had them late in life, but they're 76 years old apiece. They're both the same age because they're twins. Well, I guess one's older than the other. Unless, boy, that must have been painful if they come out at the same time. But his sons, Egbert and Cosmo, are the ones that did the work. And Cosmo was the one down in the crawl space, and it took him because he's 76 years old. And I offered him some knee pads, but no, I'm used to it, sonny. And they went under there, but they're electrical experts. As a matter of fact, old man Schleppinger, his wife, their mother, actually had an affair with Nikola Tesla. Did you know that?
Oh, come on. Give me a break.
I'm serious. They talk about it. The Tesla coil was originally going to be a birth control device, but it didn't work. So they found another application for it.
Did they end up going with direct current, I assume?
I think the Schleppingers have always been AC/DC, both, to my knowledge.
Very good. All right. And they called you Sonny. We can't get past this. They called you Sonny?
Well, they're 76 years old.
I didn't know people still do that.
People don't today, but they're from long ago and far away.
Their mom was sleeping with Tesla. What do I know?
Their mother slept with Tesla. And, well, I guess maybe if they used the Tesla coil as birth control, maybe they did come out at the same time. Anyway.
It'd be amazing if their mom slept with Tesla and now they drive Teslas. How many people can say that?
They drive a Stutz Bearcat. They keep it in impeccable condition, though. but it's big enough to get all of their equipment in. I got a couple more things I wanted to add to my birthday list. So many the cult of Cornette sent me, and I got cards, and I got some gift cards. Actually, we mentioned some of the gifts that I got last week, and I want to, if I didn't mention you, thank you. I've tried to keep notes, and I just Fritz Grandi, you devil, you sent me last year. He sent me a Man from U.N.C.L.E. record album.
Oh, cool.
From the TV series from the 60s. This year, a Captain Action Green Hornet action figure. And the folks at Galaxy VR Arcade.
That's the guy who submits the song.
Who did the song, yes, yeah. Sent me a double DVD Leonard Skinner set, Freebird the movie, and then one of the reunion concerts. So, but thanks to everybody. And
It Was Better with Ronnie tour.
Well, I mean, obviously, but we can't have what we can't have. Hotchkiss Featherbottom was just Zooming earlier today with our new website platform. These people that are going to be carrying the souped up, all new JimCornette.com. All these they are working like chipmunks away at this thing. They're just scurrying everywhere, here and there, tithering about. The website's getting switched over. All of the possible loopholes and bugs and mice, and I hate them Mises to pieces, whatever the case, it's all being worked out. And we're shooting for October the 1st. I'm not going to dare anybody to do anything, except I'm going to advise you that this time, since it looks like it probably will work, and people are going to be on top of these action figures, the store will be open until I get to the point where I can't fill the orders and get people all of their merchandise by Christmas. And I'm thinking that may be within a week or so. So if you want to, in a leisurely pace over the weekend, check out JimCornette.com the weekend of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of October and make your purchases if you want something for Christmas or possibly ever again. But you're going to be safe for about a week. This is the worst marketing strategy. Please just sneak over there. And if you want something for Christmas, you probably better buy it now. But I'm going to get overwhelmed again. I have the feeling. I'm only one person signing all these autographs and all these items. So that's the JimCornette.com, October 1st. There's a good chance of things working this time. But if you want an item, and we'll mention those items next week, I don't want to hard sell this stuff. You better get in on the first week or so, because we will probably have to shut down again to dig out of that hole. Have you seen the Muhammad Ali documentary on PBS by Ken Burns?
Not yet. I just read a great review of it. I read a great review that actually was specifically saying that Keith David did a great job, or has been doing a great job as the narrator instead of Peter Coyote, who usually does the Ken Burns documentaries. Haven't seen that yet. I watched, of course, the fantastic 4-part 86 Mets documentary, which you should watch, but tell me about Ali.
but tell me about Ali. I'll watch a Mets documentary when the Mets fly. How's that?
You would like it, because it's all about how they constructed the team and how they put all these crazy personalities that would never make it in baseball today together. And they were doing drugs and sleeping with women and hitting home runs. They got into 4 brawls on the field that year. The first base coach started a fight in the middle of that season. That never happens in baseball. And then they won it all in magical fashion. You would love it. And they even have a cameo from Roddy Piper in it.
But you're rewarding and romanticizing outrageous conduct and bad behavior there. Fighting and
I'm okay with
fornicating and
they haven't outlawed fighting yet. I mean, fornicating we're not allowed to that's gone, but fighting we're still allowed to do whenever we want, right?
No. You're supposed to be nice and friendly. And now I'm going to talk about the greatest fighter of all time, Muhammad Ali.
Amazing transition.
I don't know how long this thing is going to be. It's been since Sunday night. It's 2 hours a night. And so 3 parts have already aired, and we're only up to, I think with the end of the Frazier 5. I went to sleep last night. Once I got the power back and was able to start, from scratch, I went to sleep on it. So I got to catch up on that. But an amazing documentary in Ken Burns. The narration, as you said, is wonderful. And there's great footage. You may have seen some of this before, but not all in the same place. And it's so long. He's taking so much time to explain things, give context. And not only that, but in a lot of documentaries, you don't have the time like this to go back and flesh out other people. That in this way, he tells you who Elijah Muhammad was and, what his backstory was. They tell you who Sonny Liston was, what his backstory was, etc. The main characters that interact with Ali through the thing. So it's on PBS, folks, public broadcasting, from a grant from Exxon or somebody. Well, I guess, do they let Exxon give grants now to public TV since they poison things and pollute the environment?
If they do, whatever they show you, like, this has been paid for by the following, there'll be no signs of oil or rigs or anything. It'll be like birds and clean water, and Exxon has made a donation to clean the water. They don't say that they did that because they destroyed the fucking environment. They just tell you what they're doing to repair the environment around the oil rig.
Again, another South Park episode that you miss out on. You miss out on all the cool stuff. The head of BP or whatever, I think it was supposed to be BP. They may have said BP, or it may have just been the oil company that had a big spill. There's the CEO doing the commercials. He's leaning on a fence at a farm with the wheat in his mouth going, "I'm sorry." And then he's laying on a bearskin rug in front of a fireplace going, "We're sorry."
Oh, like the Warrior.
Yes, they always "we're sorry." And then they keep doing the same shit. Speaking of sorry people continuing to do the same shit, boy, howdy. Lots of people had differing opinions on all of the various parts of last week's programming, the Dark Side of the Ring, Plane Ride from Hell episode, our experience episode with Evan Husney, and commenting on that, as well as the other episodes this season, as well as our thoughts and opinions thrown in, and people are all over the place. Have you heard the latest news? And this is not even going to be a big rant. I continue to be entertained by all of this. The flight attendant, Heidi Doyle, who was on the Dark Side of the Ring, the next day everybody said, "Well, what about you?" And it come to find out she got arrested with some guy like 5 or 6 years ago for stealing $80,000 in jewelry somewhere out in Arizona or whatever the fuck. And I'm not mad at her, and that doesn't mean that anything else bad in her life didn't happen. Brian, I've just had an epiphany. I've had an epiphany. Follow me on this logic. Do you think that it's just possible that if you looked hard enough and talked to enough people and did enough investigating, that you could find out something about everybody on the face of the planet Earth that qualifies them to be shunned, canceled, suspended, booted out, excommunicated, or otherwise fucking ignored for the rest of their life if you want to?
I first appreciate you using shunned. As a Jew, that's a word we use before canceled became a thing. We invented shunning. We mastered shunning. I'm still a proud shunner.
You shun master, you.
I'm very good at it. I think a couple things that's important. You hit on a big thing. You look deep enough, and sometimes, especially with younger people and social media, you don't have to look too deep. You look deep enough, you find something that would get...
Or wait, old people, if you've lived 70 years, chances are you've had the chance to really do something fucking stupid at least once.
But there's something out there that would offend someone enough to try to rally other people to their side to cancel you. That is true. Now, with that said, it is important to note, and I think you did say it, but I want to clarify, this is an amusing aside to the story. This doesn't disprove, this does nothing to change.
No, the things can be mutually
what she said happened in 2003.
Yeah, the things can be mutually exclusive of each other. This thing can happen at this time, and this other thing can happen at this time. And it's what we in the wrestling business sometimes used to call a heel program, where there is no real shining white knight in shining armor here. Everybody's got something wrong with them. That's why I'm going to recommend that we just stop talking to each other. Everybody. I think the world would be a better place if we all just individually went around with our own business and do not speak to other people. I think that would be a much better place than the world is these days. Don't you? Hello?
You said you didn't want to speak to each other. I was going to try to follow your advice for the show and see how it went.
Well, I'm not going to do it unless everybody else do. If we can all agree en masse as a humanity on the global planet, if you will, that we're going to, at Saturday, it's such and such time, Eastern time, we're all going to start ignoring each other, then I'll play along. But in the meantime, I was asking you what you thought of that concept I got going on there.
I'm okay with the idea of not talking to people. That sounds wonderful. But the reason I want to go back to this one last time is just because there are people spinning it a different way. There are people saying that we found out this information about the flight attendant. That means everything she ever did or said is a lie. You know, victim shaming, as it's called. And I just want to clarify, that's not what you did. You're just pointing out that it is an amusing anecdote to the story that all of a sudden this turned out. Correct?
Yes. Who are you, Stephen P. New?
Well, no, because I've seen other people take the other point of view, and I don't want people, because I know this isn't what you're saying, but I also know that you're fucking hysterical. When you talk about this shit, people can misinterpret what you're saying.
I don't give a fuck either way, actually. But yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, is that things can happen independently of each other's. And I found it amusing that this Miss Doyle was so meek and mild and soft-spoken on the show and came off, as we said, like the next best thing to Mother Teresa. And then I said, well, certainly not. When I turn on the internet the next day and everybody's, oh, she did this and that. I'm like, what? And you look and there's pictures of the story at the time. And I'm like, what the fuck? There's something the matter with everybody? I'm starting to look at you sideways.
You know, it makes me wonder, what would you do if you did rob $80,000 worth of jewelry? Would you like put your hand in the bag of jewels and just like, ha ha ha, like lift it out? Or do you lay it out on your bed? Like, how would you commemorate the moment?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I think I would have to lay it all out and gaze at the entire, but it depends now, because $80,000 worth of jewelry, that can be deceptive.
Yeah, who's $80,000? The store is $80,000 or $80,000 on the street?
Well, I'm not talking about a street value. Boy, you really are from the city.
Well, hey.
The first thing you're thinking is trying to fence some fucking hot ice or something. No, I'm just saying, depending on what kind of store it was, 1 or 2 rings could be $80,000 if it's some high-end jewelry store. But then the story that I heard was that was in the articles that were circulating, was that apparently she was distracting somebody at the store while her male accomplice like scooped a bunch of shit up and put it in a bag. It sounded like a goddamn Keystone Cops thing anyway. And so then I'm thinking, well, what are they, at the outlet mall where you got to scoop shit and stuff it in a bag to make 80 grand at a jewelry store? That seems like it's going in the other direction. So I don't know what possibly they're not the most accomplished thieves. Maybe that's a thing. She wasn't experienced at it. Her previous employment was as a flight attendant, so she didn't have a lot of jewel theft experience in that line of work.
This may have been the practice run. We really don't know.
Yeah, maybe they were trying to work something out.
But you did see also Ric Flair put out a couple of statements. I believe the first one was deleted. Probably wisely so. And then a second one was put up, which was kind of more of,
now, wait a minute.
Yes, there's a windmill, and no, I don't operate it unless I drink, and then I can't control it.
No, stop it. And for one thing, I can't even remember. I saw the first statement. I don't know why, when you say it was deleted, probably for the best, like that he admitted something or whatever. He
started attacking the ESPN 30 for 30 guy in the middle of the statement for no reason.
Well, that's probably because he's pissed at the guy. I don't know. But he was making the point that even that guy who put everything else in the world, apparently, and I guess there's heat between them, but put everything else out there in the documentary and etc., never said anything about him forcing himself on anybody. And his second statement said he never forced himself on anybody. And basically, he took ownership of the fact that it's been well documented that his drinking and general, whooping it up as the nature boy has caused him a lot of issues. And he's admitted to that and tried to, since he died or almost died over it, be a better person, for heaven's sake, which the plane ride was pre-near death, as we recall. So I have no reason to doubt him on what he said, because he said, yeah, I've done a bunch of fucking stupid shit, but I've never forced myself on anybody, and I have never seen him that either. And I believe Rob Van Dam clarified that he wasn't saying in the piece that he specifically saw contact. He said there was jockeying for position in the galley, and he didn't want to look at Rick's exposed knob any more than possibly anyone else did. So again, that's
although, well,
there you have it.
I don't know. You probably don't want me to say anything.
What? Go ahead.
Things.
If it's your show.
Couple of things. First of all, how much are those Ric Flair robes worth now? Woo! Suckers.
Well, hey, they're going to be worth more now. They're thinking maybe it's like a fucking Monica Lewinsky dress situation, and you can some of these people may be able to clone the Nature Boy in future generations when the technology catches up. So,
do you think when you buy a Ric Flair robe, you immediately have to take off all your clothes when you put it on and just walk around your house naked like a fool?
I don't know why you wouldn't, though, in the privacy of your own home.
How much does it weigh? A Ric Flair robe?
Well, it depends on the the goddamn, what am I trying to say? The word, the rhinestones and the heavy stuff like that, the reflective stuff, way more than just the boas and the sequins like on the jungle robe. So, but one of those big rhinestone robes can probably go 20, 25 pounds, I would think. I've never weighed one. I've held one and handed one off to people, etc.
All right, well, before we hand one off, let me just finish what I was going to say before, which is a couple things. One, there is a quote now circulating from Ric Flair's fucking autobiography where David Crockett says, oh yeah, we used to have parties and there would be girls sitting there and they would feel a tap on their head and they would turn around and it would be Rick with his penis on their head. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, whether they liked it or not, that is forcing yourself on someone. You can't deny that. That is what that is. It's in his book, by the way, for the record. Library of Congress, under Flair, Rick.
But, God damn it, but have we got this far? Have we got this far where now somebody whacking somebody, male or female, on the head with their dick as a joke is equivalent to Jack the Ripper's rampage of terror in the Whitechapel district? It's fucking ridiculous.
And the other thing is, when you say you have no reason to doubt Ric Flair, the only reason I would really have to doubt Ric Flair is that I don't think Ric Flair remembers a fucking thing. He also thinks he was in Puerto Rico when Bruiser Brody was murdered.
Well,
that's a big one to fuck up.
You are there.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. Thank you.
Hey, one other question.
Fine CBS programming. Look it up, kids.
I'm a CBS fan. Jim, what are your thoughts on the fact that everyone's been talking about this episode of Dark Side of the Ring? It's been the thing that everyone's buzzing about, everyone's watching and listening to clips about. Yet it was the lowest rated episode of the season so far, right?
Apparently not. I think the lowest rated episode ever. And I heard there was some major football game or something. What season are we in? What ball are they playing these days? There's a major ball game opposite
football.
Them. But also, it's not surprising when I talked to Evan last week or on the last show. So earlier on, they were trying to go with a personality, with a major name that they could advertise people were aware of, and whether it be Brian Pillman or Owen Hart or, Randy Savage, the episodes they've done. But now that they have some awareness with people, that the program's, usually pretty interesting. They can delve into deeper subjects, but at the same time, I think we even mentioned we did a clip with Evan and Jason months ago, talking about some of the episodes that they were going to be doing, and a lot of people have found that clip because it's actually titled Jim Cornette on Plane Ride from Hell episode, but it was 4 months ago.
Yeah.
But people have found that clip and they're like, oh shit, no, we need the other one. But anyway, we were like, yeah, this is, it's kind of more of a hijinks episode. Nothing, nobody died or horrible tragedy or whatever. But the point is, I think a lot of people, well, okay, it's a hijinks episode, but nothing. And then the YouTube views for this episode have been like well over, I didn't even have electricity yesterday, but I think 500,000 up to that point because of everybody trying to catch up afterwards going, wait a minute, what the fuck happened? What's everybody talking about? So it will probably end up being the lowest rated broadcast episode on a debut airing and probably the highest viewed episode on replays or YouTube after everybody started freaking out about everything. Very strange. But we mentioned the Muhammad Ali documentary over on PBS for those of you who want to see other chaos.
Let's go back to PBS. That's a safe way to get out of this.
That's a safe way to get out. All righty. Well, what are we doing here on your program?
Well, I was going to say that's a safe way to get out of that segment, and a safe way to start each and every day is with a very healthy breakfast, and of course a few laughs listening to The Experience or The Drive-Thru.
Boy, I tell you what, it sure is, and I appreciate you working that hard on that segue to leave the rest to me. But, I got an email. I got an email from one of the listeners, Ian. I will give no last name. He may be on a federal watch list. But Ian said, this isn't a question so much as a glowing review of a wonderful product. Magic Spoon is a great tasting, healthy alternative to the cereals that I grew up eating. Their frosted cereal is my very favorite. The taste takes me back to Saturday mornings watching Captain Caveman with a bowl full of sugary, crunchy carbs.
All right.
But there's also a secret to Magic Spoon when combined with the cult of Cornette. Magic Spoon contains a prize in every box. It isn't tangible like those baking soda-powered submarines or plastic junk that were in boxes of cereals past. This prize is 2 hours of my life for free every single week. Because I don't have to watch AEW while eating my Magic Spoon. I just listen to Corny review the show and can use that 2 hours every Wednesday to scrub my toilet, clean under the refrigerator, or dig out and cut my ingrown toenails. Thank you, Corny, and thank you, Magic Spoon. Well, there you have it, folks. If nothing else has convinced you to eat a big bowl of Magic Spoon every day, it should be that right there. But I mean, of course, there's all the other reasons. 0 grams of sugar, 13 or 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. 140 calories a serving, keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and low-carb, but not taste-free. And you can build your own box. The available flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, blueberry, cinnamon, and there's an and. Brian, have you heard about this? Do you remember when cookies and cream and maple waffle came out for limited times before?
Yeah, I've been waiting. Actually, I got shut out. I didn't get a chance to try it last time.
Exactly, because they sold out, boom, just like a Jim Cornette action figure. But now they are brought back and they are permanent, not for a limited time only. So try them now. You might have missed them before, but they're delicious and indulgent. Cookies and cream and maple waffle. So the point is, if you go to magicspoon.com/Jim and you grab a custom bundle, you can pick out what you want, build your own box. If you use the promo code Jim at checkout, you'll save $5 off your order. Of course, they've got the 100% happiness guarantee. If you don't like it, they refund your money, no questions asked. They're nicer people than I would be in that situation. Go to magicspoon.com/Jim and use the code JIM to save $5 off. Even if you had a lousy segue, Brian, you still have good-tasting cereal with Magic Spoon.
And $5 off.
And $5 off with the code JIM.
Who knows what you could do with that $5?
You going to make $5 the hard way?
Hey.
Hey, I'll tell you. All right.
Hey. I bet you was something before electricity.
Speaking of electricity, we already did. So that means it's your show. What the fuck are we doing?
Well, of course, Jim, Magic Spoon is a magical cereal, and a lot of wrestling fans may think Friday night has become a magical night of wrestling action, where we have wonderful shows from both major companies on 2 different channels.
Well, a lot of those people would be wrong, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew it couldn't last. I thought last week, because see, here's the thing. This past weekend on The Experience, we reviewed AEW's Dynamite from Wednesday the 15th, and I said they gave me a birthday present. Tony Khan gave me a birthday present. From top to bottom, that was the most professional program that they have ever done and they've ever aired on TNT. They were in a big building with a big crowd. JR was up because he had big stars, so you had announcing, crowd, building. You had the names, Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, the FTR. They worked good. The matches, boom. There was a few stinkers, couple of turds in a punch bowl, but overall, it was the best TV program top to bottom, the most professional one they've done. I said they gave me a birthday present. So what did they do? They turned around on my actual birthday. They were back to the amateur hour. This was it's still national television. It may be 10 to 11 instead of 8 to 10. It may be Friday instead of Wednesday. But what did the national viewing audience, Brian Last, do to deserve the program that they were presented last Friday night? I ask you.
I don't know. And it's certainly not the program I would have put on Friday night.
Gee, the first 40 minutes were poor Matt Hardy's midlife crisis unfolding in front of our eyes. Is he just attached to anything that we don't want to see on purpose?
I've been saying that to you for a while. As soon as you see him, his logo, his song, his crew, it's just channel-changing kind of stuff. It's go to YouTube kind of stuff. If this starts off on a Friday night, it's already tough. It's 10 o'clock at night. It's late. Some of us have kids. If we stay up, if we struggle to stay up and you start the show with this, it's hard to justify making it
now
through.
See, you've buried us to all the young people. They're going, they're so old, they don't want to stay up past 10 o'clock on Friday night. And not for this, I didn't. I would do it for something that was worthwhile, but they were in the same building last week. They were in the same building that they were in for the Wednesday night show. They had a big building and they had a big crowd, but instead the first thing you hear when they go on the air is excrement's voice. And then here comes the Butcher and the Baker and the Bunny and Matt Hardy and Jack Evans, and we're on the America's Got Talent auditions again. And the World Tag Team Championship is on the line between the new champions, the Lucha Brothers, against the Butcher and the Baker, and the Butcher has been gone for, 6 months? It's his first time back, and they get a World Tag title match.
Number 1 contenders.
Yes. Boy, they must have kicked some ass 6 months ago to carry over that far. So, again, how did they get a tag team title match, and why is this on national television? Jesus Christ. A 4-man announce booth. Now they've got Taz, Jericho, Excrement, and Ricky Starks. Why do they need 4 announcers? What happened to Mark Henry, by the way? Was he off that night?
No, he's off full-time off commentary. He's only going to be doing the backstage interviews. They're going to have Ricky Starks full-time on commentary now.
What?
And to me, the biggest problem there is Jericho screaming the whole night. He's killing it. He's ruining the show. Whatever good parts there are.
But wait a minute, Mark Henry, they just announced he's going to be now. So they have a legendary wrestling name that is more over than most of the people on their roster who is doing backstage interviews.
Here's the only issue, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Certainly, he had to really... If Mark Henry was going to be a commentator, putting him in a 4-man booth was not going to help him.
Yeah, no.
It was hard for him to get a word in. I don't think this was doing anything to help him. I don't think it was helping the show, just having him sit there and barely able to get a word in unless someone invites him to talk. So I'm not going to disagree with them pulling him off commentary. No,
I'm going to disagree with him. I'm going to disagree with them pulling him off commentary after they just signed him to be a fucking announcer and announced he was going to announce. And then I guess they announced that he's not going to announce. But the point, give him a fucking play-by-play guy and let him learn to do color. Don't have 4-man announce booths. It's fucking ludicrous. They need more TV shows just for the amount of announcers they've got. Anyway, what'd you think of this match there, Brian?
I like the Lucha Brothers with the right people, and I love Alex Abrahantes. He's my favorite. But I'm sorry, and nothing against personally the Butcher of the Blade. The bunny sucks. Just that stupid face over and over
now,
again.
Hey, is that a harassment?
No, it's just the same thing. She walks out, she tilts her head, she gives the look. What is the character exactly? She's nuts? She doesn't seem nuts. She's acting nuts.
She's as mad as a March hare.
Just the whole Matt Hardy thing. Jack Evans, that takes it down a notch. The Butcher, the Butcher had a great look when he first debuted. I mean, they had him pop out of the ring against Cody. Another one of these Cody things that went nowhere. Popped out of the ring to kill Cody.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he looked great. I said, wow, I've never seen this guy on national TV before. Who is he? And then they made me realize he's a jobber because of the way they treated him. And now I'm supposed to care about all of this, and you got Matt Hardy in there? Forget it. Garbage.
All right, here's what I jotted down, and then we'll move on. I tried to describe this match to myself because I knew I wouldn't remember it later. Gymnastics, random 4-ways with obvious cooperation, referee enforcing nothing. At one point, the Baker stuck his hand out to tag the Butcher in, and the Butcher stepped in through the ropes and then tagged him. They got a little heat on Felix, but Felix made his own comeback and walked over and gave his brother a flat-footed cold tag. Then all the heels went to the floor and stood there and waited until both of the Lucha Brothers dove on them, and they went to a break. On the other side of the break, they got a little heat on Penthouse, and then he made his own comeback and cold tagged his brother. And then Felix went through some phony-looking hand-holding and leg-kicking routines with both the heels and German suplexed both of them. But the heel stopped him again because Penthouse goes from 0 to hero in 2 seconds. He was like, pile driver off the roof, boom, instant nip up, drop kick, whatever. They stopped the heels again, but then Penthouse crawled over and just tagged his partner. But the heels stopped Felix on the apron before he ever got in the ring. Then they tied Penthouse's mask to the turnbuckle and then double-teamed Felix over and over while the referee stood there and waved his arms helplessly, standing there staring at him, until Penthouse, who apparently was never a Boy Scout, could untie the knot to get out of his fucking mask, covered his face with one hand, and super kicked the heels so that Felix could roll him up. 1, 2, 3. That was about the match, right?
I guess.
Then the heels and Private Party. So now there's how many of them is there's the 2 heels here, the Butcher and the Baker, plus Private Party. There's 3. There's 4. Jack Evans was out there. There's 5. Hardy is 6. I don't know if the Bunny was still around. 7. They attack the Lucha Brothers, get some fake-looking heat on them, and then Santana and Ortiz hit the ring, and 7 or 8 human beings run from 2. And then we go to the package. So this is, they're back to being AEW in the first year with this shit. Like I said, it's national TV. You put this on YouTube if you've got to do this stuff. Anyway, They did an package on Bryan Danielson and Twinkle Toes. And I guess, are they just avoiding bringing these big names out for Rampage because they're taping in the same building as they taped the Dynamite and they don't want to bring the big names out twice? Is that a reason why none of these people can be live on this show?
I'm not exactly sure, and I think one of the big issues with Rampage is it goes back and forth. It was the must-watch show when Punk debuted, and then they put a bunch of job matches on there. Or a bunch of matches featuring guys you don't want to see, let me be fair. And then this one coming up this coming week from Queens. It's going to be taped Wednesday night, but it's main event matches. So it's kind of weird when you go...
It's a 2-hour show.
It's kind of weird when you go from the show being the must-watch show, you have to see it, and then the next week you don't have to see it. Because it's a bunch of crap. And that's what it was this week. Well,
and the ratings reflected that because they're back down where they were before Punk showed up.
I didn't see the ratings for Rampage. What were they?
Apparently they're about the same thing as they were before Punk showed up. What was 600 and something thousand? Did I see right? Perhaps you can research that while I skip the next match. Because the next match was the Bunny with Penelope Ford against Anna Jay with Ty Conti. 2 Hardy Office matches in a row, and these two, and they did a jump start on the ramp, got in a hockey fight on the floor, and then one of the girls gave the other one a suplex on the floor before they ever even got in the ring. So after the finish, all the 4 interchangeable Outlaw Mud Show blondes got in the ring and had a fight with each other, and they used brass knuckles to knock out the baby faces. But somehow, even though it's a girl using brass knuckles, you can still see they look pretty good. They look like real brass knuckles. She punches both of them with the brass knuckles. It doesn't even mess their makeup up. So now the girls are using brass knuckles. 10 minutes of national TV time. Have you got that information yet?
I do have the information. So the ratings are in order. Week 1, August 13th, 740,000. August 20th, the CM Punk week, 1,129,000. And then August 27th, 720,000. And in September, the 3rd, 696,000. The 10th, 670,000. And the 17th, which we are reviewing right now, 642,000.
Well, there you go. So, they did a package on Powerhouse Hobbs and CM Punk. And this was great because Hobbs can talk too. This guy is fucking fabulous. But he's got some oomph to him verbally. He looks good. He's got some personality. But it was, a minute and a half deal or 2 minutes or whatever the fuck it was. Wasn't going to save this show because now we come back. Tony Schiavone in the ring with Matt Hardy and Jack Evans. What is it was like the old days of studio wrestling when you're doing a live studio program and there's a fucking snowstorm and only 4 wrestlers show up. This was the worst thing I've ever seen. It's everything wrong with AEW all in one place. He's in the ring, Matt Hardy, doing a promo, plugging next week's matches. Okay, that's fine. And then he just suddenly gets pissed at a fan in quotation marks, in the front row dressed like Pockets. The guy didn't look a thing like Pockets. He was a dark-haired, fat kind of dumpy guy, but he had the Pockets t-shirt on and he had his jean jacket and whatever. I guess he's got his hand stuck in his pants, probably playing pocket pool. Point is, Matt Hardy just goes out and pulls this fan over the fucking rail, dumps him on his ass, throws him in the ring. No security comes. No, Tony Schiavone is just standing there in the ring watching this. Nothing, the announcer's like, oh, he shouldn't do that. And they not only beat the guy up, but they give the fan wrestling moves and then shave half his head. And at that point, that's when Pocket's music plays and he walks to the ring, and the heels run from this one guy walking to the ring as he saves his fan who just got half his head shaved, and nobody. They all went apeshit when an actual fan jumped up and got on the apron of the ring.
Yeah, and since that time, MJF invited fans into the ring, and then Matt Hardy pulled a plant into the ring.
Yes. And we also saw what happened when that guy got on the apron of the ring. Everybody in the building made a beeline for him. Security, the wrestlers in the ring, everybody. Nobody did a thing about this. It was fake. It was phony. It wasn't well executed. How many times I got to say that? It was hot garbage. And why was this a good idea? Who had this idea and who said it was good to just do fake shit that everybody's going to scoff at on your... That was 35 minutes of the show. I didn't want to watch any more of it after that.
You know, I don't know that there was a lawsuit. In fact, I'm going to guess there wasn't, but didn't this feel like a Matt Hardy settlement episode? We'll just use you for the whole episode. Do anything you want. We'll fill the episode with you. What was this? Why was this? Every segment up to this point is Matt Hardy. And it's the record low ratings for the show.
Brutal. So then the one good thing happened. Britt Baker and Ruby Soho. Again with Tony Schiavone in the ring. And we're going to see a theme on this because even though Britt Baker and Ruby Soho did a great job, there was not a great job done here with any attention to detail or any formatting or any booking, etc. Tony Schiavone's in the ring for a promo with Britt Baker and Ruby Soho, right? Both the girls have microphones. Tony starts it out and then goes and stands in the corner. Why? Doesn't that... He just watched a fan get beat up. Now he's in the ring to watch, get a better fucking view of the two girls talking to each other? Anyway, Ruby Soho has personality. It seems like she's having fun. Britt Baker is a great promo as a heel, and that's why people like her. She's a popular heel. And they had good material. I mean, especially when Ruby Soho, you know, basically, not only did the fans start chanting for it, it didn't throw her off. She went right back to what she was doing when she hit the line about Britt Baker being like so many of the other girls that she's had to deal with or whatever, banging some dude in the back. That was, what a pop. This is MJF level shit. Maybe he's writing the girls' promos now. I don't know. Because then Britt Baker tells her that she's not the runaway. She didn't run away. She got fired. So the boom, boom, boom. They get in each other's faces. They tell each other off. They get pops. It was a great promo segment. Points off at the end because Britt Baker tried to attack her, but Ruby Soho kind of double-legged her, boom, 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 and ran her off, and that wasn't a shining example of physicality, but it was the best thing on the show, and the promo was very good. What'd you think?
I thought it was all right. I didn't think it was as great as you thought it was, but I thought it was pretty good.
Oh, I don't know if I said great, but it was in this atmosphere.
Here's the thing. Again, it's a 10 p.m. Friday night show. It ends at 11. I think there's no question if you're going to argue who's the biggest star on the show, it's either Britt Baker or Miro. One of those two. Why are they at the end of the show? Britt Baker gets a pop. She looks like a star. People react to her. And she does these good promos. Why is this after 35 minutes or so of stuff that makes you tune out? If it's going to be a show that's on a Friday night where you think the audience may start leaving as you get closer to 11, load the top half of the show with the stars. Put Matt Hardy at the 11 p.m. hour.
Well, but they think they did. The Lucha Brothers are the tag team champions. So that, so they think they put stars at the top of the program. The problem is nobody wants to see, even if you want to see the Lucha Brothers, nobody wants to see them beat
That's it.
Jabronis.
if you put Lucha Brothers and FTR, people want to see it. You put Lucha Brothers and Young Bucks, people would want to see it. Lucha Brothers and Santana Ortiz, people want to see it. Nobody wants to see Matt Hardy, and he was all over the show. And until the stars came out towards the end of the show.
We're not going to be lucky enough to see the Lucha Brothers and FTR anytime soon, because that would give FTR a chance to actually have a good match with people it's almost impossible to have a good match with, like they usually do every time they get in the ring. But anyway, so the main event is Miro and Fuego del Solo for his car. And they did some canned, monotone promos. And I just said, why? So what happened?
Miro won, and then Miro just kicked the living crap out of him, put the car keys in his mouth, and put him in that pretzel movie does, until, like, I thought they were setting up on Dynamite. Sami ran in and made the save, and there's something there with Sami.
You called it.
There's something there with Sami and Miro, but goddamn, this promo, this Fuego del Sol, even that, like, to me, that was the one thing. Okay, do a promo that makes me want to care about you, instead of just do standard wrestling promo B from your manual, sir. And that's what he did. It was just a generic garbage promo. And it wasn't a very good episode of Dynamite. Love Miro. Miro's still great. I like Miro's promo. That's unique. But that's that.
That is indeed that.
It makes me wish... It makes me wish that I had gone to a place and gambled on whether or not I would have a good transition or not, but I didn't do that. So instead, I'm going to go to the bathroom and shave all sorts of areas with Manscaped.
What the hell? Where are you going? You're betting on your ball shaving? You're all over the page here, folks. I tell you, if you don't want to take chances or place bets or get odds on your ball shaving, I know exactly what you need to do. You need to verify this stuff. You need to make sure that your nether regions will be slick and fresh and taste good at all times.
Taste good.
And, well, whatever the case, I'm not judging anybody. So, all you need, folks, is the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped. That's what you need, because they've got everything in there to make your private parts corporals and lieutenants even. They will no longer be privates. You'll want to share them with the world. You'll want to share them with everybody. They'll look so nice and feel so good, but don't make anybody look. They only can look if they want to. Folks, with the Performance Package 4.0, they have the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. Of course, the cutting-edge ceramic blade. I hesitate to use the word cutting edge because it doesn't cut anything except what it's supposed to cut. It won't nick you or slice you or dice you. No, you will not be able to put your testicles in coleslaw when you use the Lawnmower 4.0, because this bad boy reduces grooming accidents because of advanced skin-safe technology, a 7,000 RPM motor. Boy, does it run. I'll tell you what, you turn this thing on, the lights in the house will dim. And it will whack all those things that you want whacked. It'll whack you right off. I'm telling you. The multifunction on and off switch, now it's brand new. It turns it on. It turns it off. It's amazing. It's got a spotlight in case you want to call attention to whatever you're trying to eradicate and eliminate. It's also got the weed whacker, the nose and hair trimmer, or nose and ear hair trimmer, I should say, which I think is a 9,000 RPM motor. That's even more astounding, Brian. How many RPMs does your typical ear and nose hair trimmer have?
33 1/3.
Well, there you go. So this is 9,000. And don't forget about the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Toner to help your little boys be on their A game down there. Anyway, you get 20% off, folks. But you can get it all off as soon as you get the Manscaped products. You can be slickered and come on a gold tooth. But you get 20% financially off and free shipping by going to manscaped.com/JCE. Manscaped.com/JCE. 20% off and free shipping. And you know that they're one of our favorites because we do love for our sphincters and taintal areas to be free of clutter. And this is the way to do it. And who knows, the holidays are coming up. You might get lucky. Somebody out there, anybody.
That's right. Well, Jim, speaking of sphinctal clutter, did you watch SmackDown?
I certainly indeedly did. Indeedly doodly I did.
Would you like to share your thoughts with the audience?
Not really. Oh, my God. They were in Knoxville, my old hometown, on September 17th, my old birthday. I'm getting a new one now after these shows aired on that night. It started promising. The show comes on the air, and we see here comes Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman and the Usos. And Paul is, again, suitably grovelly, and they recapped last week's events, which are pretty good, as we mentioned on the program. And Reigns gets in and tells the people, or tells Heyman, rather, he called it the wise man. Paulie ought to be fucking dressed up like one of those villagers that they'd find on Gilligan's Island when, some tribe would come of headhunters or something would come to the fucking island. Wise man, explain to the crowd how to properly acknowledge me. And again, Paul Heyman verbally filleted Roman Reigns like a master of verbal fellatio. It's incredible. And he gives him the build-up, the man who fears no man, no beast, no demon. Blah, blah, blah. He tells the people that Brock Lesnar is afraid of Roman Reigns. And it's all going well. This is great. And then Big E's music hits. And I was hoping for Lesnar, maybe for Demon, but instead we get Big E. But instead of coming out in a manner that would fit the tone of the thing, here you've got one of the world champions, the serious one, the one that people actually kind of believe in, out there being serious. It's a couple of the best promos in the business at this point. Reigns didn't really get a chance to talk too much at that point. And here comes the other guy, the other champion who just won it. And instead of coming out, the game face on, holding his belt, going to confront the other guy, we can have a face-to-face stare-off, Big E comes out, running, skipping practically, in a mad panic, running around the ring, climbing on the desk, screaming, I did it, slapping hands with everybody. Yes, he's a babyface. He's supposed to shake hands and kiss babies. But in that moment, when you're going to come face-to-face with the guy who's supposedly your only equal in the company, the other world champion, and he just runs around and he's, I did it, and he gets in the ring and he's hopping up and he's making the faces and the fans are chanting, you deserve it. But when they have the face-off, he says absolutely nothing to Roman Reigns. And then here's Finn Balor's music. And here comes Finn Balor. He's making his entrance. And they go to the break. Now they're going to the break in the middle of fucking promos. We're 15 minutes into the show already by the time that this has happened. And now they're in the commercial break when they come back. And I was sitting there. Wait, okay. So it's going to be Balor and Big E and Roman Reigns, and there's going to be some interaction, possibly some violence. Is Brock Lesnar going to come out? What's going to happen? We come back from the break. Roman Reigns is gone. Paul Heyman's gone. And now during the 3 minutes that we were away from this program, they've made a tag team match with Big E and Finn Balor against the Usos. And that's starting. And I'm like, what? This is a network television show. They couldn't go to the lengths to come back and have some type of on-camera making of this match. Rather, it's a network TV show. They didn't have anything planned for the next 15 minutes. They just, since the guys are out there, just let them wrestle. There was not even any comment like we're interrupting our goddamn format for this. Just, oh, well, here's a match. It's in the ring. I wrote, oh, piss off. Did I summarize that first segment and the letdown of the start of the second segment that you felt in your mind adequately, Brian Last?
Oh, no, I felt the letdown started at the end of the first segment. I agree with everything you said. Heyman and Roman Reigns and the Usos looks like a main event combo. Heyman is maybe the single best on-air performer in the entire wrestling business. Roman Reigns is great. It's all good. And then Big E comes out. I'm not a fan of Big E because of all the clownish stuff. Physically, as an athlete, I've always liked him. I liked him before he was in the New Day, but then when it got silly, I realized I wasn't 8. So I couldn't really enjoy this stuff. And like you said, he comes out, he's having a great time. I can kind of get by with that for a second because Roman and Heyman, they're still serious. And then Balor comes out. I'm like, okay, is this going to turn into Raw? And then Brock comes out and then this person comes out. No. Commercial break and then boom, a match. I was surprised because I know they're cutting the shows a little weird, even though it was live. Sometimes now promo packages just appear out of nowhere. I didn't know if I missed something in my DVR, so I went back. No, they just started the match just like that.
Where did Roman go?
And then they beat the tag team champions. And then they beat the tag team champions.
Well, of course they did, because they're two singles guys. And Vince is always going to beat the tag team champions with two singles guys, because that's the kind of exact opposite of the rule of thumb of traditional wrestling is the tag team champions can beat two top singles guys because they're not tag team experts in a tag team match. But what do we all know? And they not only beat him, but they beat him flat as shit. Balor double foot stomped one Uso off the top rope, and Big E power slammed the other one, and they simultaneous 1, 2, 3. So, I mean, and that fits in with, their Roman Reigns' flunkies is their main, use and purpose in life here. But why let two guys whose job is to be flunkies for the big dog be the tag team champions? Because that just devalues the belts. Well, I don't know they can be devalued at this point. Anyway, we found out where Roman Reigns was. He and Paul are back in the locker room, and they've been watching that shit. Not happy about it, I'm sure. But Roman Reigns then asked Paul, is there anything I need to know? No, my tribal chief. Are you sure there's... And basically, Paulie has to swear that he didn't know that Brock Lesnar was coming to SummerSlam. And he does the thing again where he cuts the promo trying to explain to Roman Reigns that this is the reason why he knows that Brock Lesnar's scared, because he has to put out this fake narrative of blah, blah, blah. So he starts out scared to death and hamana, but he eventually gets more confidence as he believes he has sold Roman Reigns through his line of bullshit that really it's Brock Lesnar fears him. And he's putting Roman, brilliant, great shit. And they follow that with Booger and his guitar playing Shaky Nakamura to the ring. So, again, this program, there's only 2 or 3 people you can count on, and then it goes to shit again. And that Booger played the music for Shaky, even though Booger's wrestling and Shaky's in the corner. And poor Booger, or poor Bobby Roode had to wrestle Booger, and poor Dolph Ziggler had to sit there at ringside and watch it. And Bobby Roode had to put this idiot over. And then after the match, here comes Apollo Crews and General Sneeze or whatever the fuck. And they beat up Booger and Shaky and did a promo that nobody would care about. This was all rotten. Did I miss any rottenness?
No, you pointed out the biggest thing that nobody would care about.
And then they had a package. Kevin Steen and Happy Corbin or Broke Corbin or Lucky Corbin. What Corbin is he this week?
I think he's happy.
So Happy Corbin, and where Logan Paul and Happy Corbin, fucked Steen over, and then, Kevin Owens. And then Owens did the interview where he had to force himself to talk about this nonsense, and this was obviously written for him, and he obviously hated doing it. Did you get the vibe off of, or you don't know him personally, but did you get the vibe that he can't wait to get out of there, and he was doing this in just a manner that they'd be happy with, so they'd leave him alone?
I think he's gone and everyone knows it.
But, it was obvious in this interview.
This was different than a lot of his other interviews I've seen, and I didn't particularly like this one, but I think everyone...
That's because he was doing it just to get it over with, because it was almost like you could see on his head a neon sign that said, yeah, this is shit material, and I'm giving it the delivery it deserves because I'm going to be out of here real soon. Anyway, so then... Owens comes to the ring. Pearl Harbor Corbin attacks him on the ramp. They have a big fight on the floor, and Corbin chokeslams Owens on the apron of the ring and leaves. So, was Owens coming out for a match? Where was his opponent? Did they ever follow up on what happened to him after this again?
I have
or
no
they
idea.
just they wanted to have him do a bad interview and then come out and get fucking chokeslammed too.
I don't know.
All righty. But then we're back to Paul Heyman, so it's good again. And of course, we're in the back, and Kayla Braxton, girl interviewer, Cub reporter, comes up. And Paul's hilarious again, because now he's cut the promo. Why don't you stop bothering me? Blah, blah, blah. And he cuts another great promo, and then he turns and runs into Big E. Jesus. And Paul congratulates him, but Big E recites some scripted lines. And then the Usos attack him, and they're in the back, and they beat the shit out of him forever, without attracting any attention. Kayla had disappeared. The cameraman didn't even say, hey, y'all stop that now. They're screaming and they're, hitting the guy and they're bashing him around, and nobody's running in or hears or anything. Oh, and it's on live television. And there's a bunch of people in the building, I would assume, watching the television program in the way of the WWE, the crew, the talent, the production staff, whatever. Nobody said, hey, there's a fight going on. Help me.
I can't help you. This is the thing with wrestling. There's nonstop attacks backstage. Guys come out of nowhere. It's always happening. I hate everything backstage at wrestling. I'm not saying there isn't a place for it, but why can't it be logical?
There used to be once or twice a year when it could actually happen.
And people acknowledged the camera was there. People didn't have deep personal discussions in front of this invisible cameraman. So stupid.
Or apparently only wrestlers and well-paid, possibly now flight attendants, commit crimes in front of cameras. Seth Rollins was in the ring. And it was all a plot. He wasn't really remorseful or losing his mind or whatever, or questioning his motives. He did the deal where he started out saying, well, what happened to Edge was unfortunate, and he was trying to act remorseful, and they played the VTR. Basically, it was like a crunch, like when you step on a cockroach. Basically, this went a long time, and there was mumbly mouth, and there was blah, blah. And then he after he's turned heel on the people, what did you think was going to happen? I started fast forwarding, and he was still talking, and it went a long time. What were your thoughts?
I hated it, and it went a long time. I'm not a big fan of Seth Rollins' whole, I don't know what it is, like the behavior of Omega and the fashion sense of a colorblind Cody Rhodes. I don't get what he is or what he's supposed to be or why anyone should care. And why are they giving him so much time? So much time. His promos, I don't know, maybe you like the way he acts, but I don't think they're his strong suit. I really don't. More in-ring time may help. Less of this.
I don't know, but again, this is what we said a little while ago about AEW. It's Friday night, 10 o'clock, yes, but it's still national television. This is network television. Jesus Christ. Drop the brand split if you don't have any more talent than this. And put everybody on the shows. Or do something. Make your matches more important so people don't tune them out. Make your talent more important so people don't tune them out like we do. And speaking of the next match, Zelena and Carmella against Toni Storm and Liv Morgan. Whatever happened in this match, Zelena and Carmella were complaining about it to Pearson DeVille. Pearson DeVille sounds like a songwriting team from the Brill Building. Finn Balor was in the back, doing a moody promo explaining where the demon comes from. It comes from inside him. It comes from a manifestation of everyone who ever disrespected him or made him feel bad. Are they writing this show for a lot of maladjusted teenage kids that are really mad because people have disrespected them and they can't get even any other way than to watch the guy paint himself up and do the double stomp?
Well, if they are, I have some bad news for them. That audience isn't watching either.
They're not, are they?
No.
No. Anyway, this interview closed by, I don't know whether they got the idea from Lon Chaney Jr. in The Wolfman or from that 80s music video where everybody's face morphed into somebody else's face. But Finn morphed into the demon here at the end of this. Right in front of our eyes. Even a man who is pure in heart and says his prayers by night may become a demon when the wolfbane blooms and the makeup artist gets it right. Did you like the morphing?
No. I just saw this guy out there. I just saw him out there in front of the whole arena. So after that, he went in the back and found a dark area of the building, made sure to get some mood lighting, and then he turned into Teen Wolf in front of our very eyes. Not even Teen Wolf. Like a fucking, I don't know, he's like Rastafari. What is this demon character? He's just like Eddie Grant. I don't know what he is.
Wait a minute. From Electric Avenue, it's the Demon.
That's right. Name his band before he went solo and did Electric Avenue.
Oh, shit.
A great underrated band from England, The Equals. Everyone should check out.
Well, I wouldn't have said that because I thought it was somebody else. Or some other band.
Well, all things being equal, this promo didn't do it for me.
Well, it was a little pitchy for me too, dog. The next match, Dominic Mysterio versus Sami Zayn. What happened? Because I got distracted and forgot about this show.
To be very fair, this was around the point I gave up on the show.
Okay.
I do want to say one thing, because this show sucks.
Yeah.
It's really, really bad to the point where I don't want us to review it anymore. We could review the highlights, but it sucks so bad.
That's why I'm trying to move quickly.
We need to move more quick, I think, in the future with this. But the problem is this show's bad. And in the middle of this, Howard the Duck. You know, you remember that really awful movie in the mid-'80s, the first Marvel film, Howard the Duck? In the middle of this Howard the Duck, you have Marlon Brando. I want to see Heyman. I have to watch all this garbage to see the best actor of his generation. I gave up.
Marlon Brando had indeed starred in Howard the Duck,
It would be Paul Heyman on SmackDown in 2021.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you what you missed at the end. This is Knoxville, Tennessee. Not only is Bianca Belair from Knoxville, but also another WWE Hall of Famer is from Knoxville, at least his adopted hometown. They had Kane, Glenn Jacobs, make an entrance and come out and host Bianca Belair's homecoming party. And obviously, he came out dressed as Glenn Jacobs. They announced him as Kane. He comes out in a suit as Glenn Jacobs. The point is, he was the biggest star on the show. He got the biggest pop, and the biggest star on the show is a 50-something-year-old mayor. This is where the WWE star-making power is gone. Anyway, the ring was done up in towers of orange balloons and an orange mat because obviously they're at that's the University of Tennessee Arena. I don't know if that's still Thompson Bowling Arena or if they've got a new one these days, but so it's a University of Tennessee, and they're going crazy for Bianca Belair, as they should. Hometown girl, she's happy. He gave her the big key to the city, and then she tried to start leading people to sing Rocky Top. And she did legitimately go to the University of Tennessee. This is a homecoming for her. She started singing Rocky Top. Not only she didn't start with the beginning of it, she started in the chorus, and she was doing it too slow. It was like it was sort of goddamn, like one of those samples, like you'd take a song and put it over the rap track and slow it down or whatever. Wish that I was that kind of pace. Instead of Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top.
Oh, God damn it.
Rocky Top, Tennessee.
Awful.
Wish that I was on old Rocky Top down in the Tennessee hills. Corn don't grow at all on Rocky Top. Ain't no telephone bills, all that stuff, right? A little pep to it.
Oh, yeah.
But no, it was a little slow. But then, what a heel. Becky Lynch comes out and interrupts Rocky Top. That'll get you cut down in those parts. And I saw somebody asking again, why the fuck? She was the most popular person, male or female, that they had on the roster until she went off to spawn the child of Seth Stalin, right?
She was incredibly popular. I would say if she wasn't the most popular, certainly the most popular female performer, maybe the most popular, because that's at a period of time where, remember, they were trying to get Drew McIntyre ready.
Yeah.
Cena was about to lose to Bray Wyatt and go disappear for a while. She was, the top star.
Well, but anyways, people are still, why did they turn her heel? Why did they turn her heel? She does it well. I'm not saying it was a wise thing to do if people liked her that much, but she's got a heel delivery to her and an obnoxious, she can take an obnoxious tone. And she's actually got bass in her voice. Even though she's a woman, she sounds like she means what she's saying. And I think the accent helps make her be flippant. That's the Bianca Belair does a lot of the Bianca Belair. The Bianca. I sound like the Iron Sheik now. The Bianca Belair, I humble you. No, Bianca Belair does a lot of the oh girl, or whatever, like she's on Jerry Springer. Or it's like the reality show women try to trash talk each other. Becky comes out there like a normal fucking person and just downgrades her verbally. And it sounds like she means more of it. But anyway, they go to do the handshake. Bianca Belair won't let go as Becky tries to turn and leave. So Becky turns around and swings. Bianca ducks. Bianca picks up Becky. Becky comes out of it, back behind her, turns around and rock bottoms Bianca Belair and walks out. So her homecoming celebration, she's got planted on her fucking head in her hometown. And again, they were just doing this back and forth, and then they have the violence, and nobody's running in. Nobody's upset. Becky's backing up the aisleway as Bianca sells and looks upset. Sports entertainment angle. And that was the close of a network television program on Fox. Are you sorry you missed this?
No, I'm not. And I like Becky Lynch overall. But I mean what I said earlier. I don't want to review the show other than the Heyman and Roman Reigns segment. Whoever they're feuding with, whatever they're doing, everything on this show just feels like a drag.
Are you insinuating that Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch were men dressed up as women?
That's not what I was saying, and you know what I was saying.
All right.
The show just drags, and it's just hard to get through, and it's not good, and everything about it sucks, and I just wish there was a hero that can get me away from this awful programming and say, no longer do we have to review this. If only there was a hero out there somewhere. I don't know who, maybe a Southern Clark Kent type wears glasses. No one would expect him to be the hero. He's never done any hero stuff in his life, but maybe he's the hero. Can he save this transition?
Can he save this transition? No. No, he can't. Nobody's that good, but folks, I'll tell you, Brian today's not getting a lot of respect with his transitions, is he? But folks, I want to take a second to breathe because I'm all right now, but last night I was in rough shape. I had a $200 lineup going up against Stat Hero. For those who aren't familiar, Stat Hero, ooh, what pieces of work they are. They're a platform where you can play the house one-on-one. And I'll tell you, all I needed was 75 yards, and Henry had me biting my nails till the fourth quarter.
Henry?
That no good sack of shit. Henry, I tell you. Oh, I tell you. Henry, my wife even cut him off, I tell you. But my boy came through in the end. I made a quick $200. Forget the sports bets. Betting on myself is the way to go because I actually win now with Stat Hero. I tell you, they give me plenty of respect.
Not like Henry.
Not like good old Henry. Anyway, folks.
Fuck Henry.
Fuck Henry. Because Stat Hero is the way to go. It's the first ever. I know you'll be surprised to hear this. I was shocked and amazed. The first ever daily fantasy sports book that puts the player in control and winning within reach. Stat Hero shows you their lineups and dares you to beat them. Double dogged, and I know the cult of Cornette loves to take a dare. You website crashing son of a bitches. Anyway, they're going to show you their lineups. They're going to flash you their lineups. They're going to dare you to beat their lineup after they flash you with it. It's you versus the house in a head-to-head fantasy matchup. I love head-to-head fantasies. You name your stakes. The winner takes all. You have the advantage. Stat Hero is showing you their lineups ahead of time. Well, that's almost cheating. Nobody else does that. I don't even know what it means, and I'm outraged over it. You're in total control, folks. Stat Hero is DFS the way it was meant to be. That's the Department of Fornicating Security.
That's
DFS.
not what that is.
It's a federal agency. What? No, DFS. That's Daily Fantasy Sports. That's what a sports book. That's what it is. Not what I said. Anyway, folks, if you do this type of thing, you'll know what I'm talking about. And the sooner that you go to stathero.com/JCE, the better off we'll all be. You can sign up for free. And right now, you can get a 100% bonus match on your first deposit using the promo code JCE. They're matching your first deposit. Hey, what do you got to lose? Oh, I tell you, the other day the house caught on fire. My wife said to the kids, shh, you'll wake up daddy. Go to stathero.com/JCE and enter promo code JCE for 100% first deposit match. Stat Hero. There's your hero there, fella.
That's right. I needed someone. I was just hanging here in the wind.
You're holding on to a hero.
Holding on for a hero. Bonnie
or
Tyler.
Holding out for a hero.
That's right.
Did they hold on for heroes or hold out for heroes?
I don't know. In the song, she says, I need a hero. But that's not the name of the song.
Well, damn her then. Misleading song titles.
Remember Who's Harry Crumb with John Candy?
Yes, I do.
They played that when he was on the the stairway at the airport, chasing after the airplane. Great movie. I was a big John Candy fan.
That was also, didn't Pedicino use that for his Superstar show?
Oh, I don't know.
Ding, 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 ding. We need a hero. Yeah, Superstars of Wrestling in Atlanta.
Well, he kind of had a cosplay John Candy thing going anyway.
Oh, come on now. He wasn't that large.
Were you a John Candy fan?
I liked the Candy Man. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I was enamored of.
What about Stripes?
The travel. Well, I wasn't in the Army, but I've spent a lot of time in airports and traveling.
Okay, so you're not a big Stripes fan.
Wasn't in World War II either.
What about Splash?
Splash? I fucked 3 mermaids, so I was okay with that.
Splash is actually an amazing movie because I saw that all the time as a kid. Such a lovely story. You know, Tom Hanks falls in love with a mermaid who's being chased by Eugene Levy all over the country.
Oh, you saw the movie a lot when you were a kid.
I saw the movie. Now seeing it as an adult.
I thought you said you saw them a lot when you were a kid. I was like, mermaids? Well, you did come from Long Beach, so I guess if you would have seen mermaids.
You never know what came out of Point Lookout. No.
Did you ever see mermaids when you were a kid? And if so, did you ever have your parents' blood tested in case they passed anything on to you?
I've never seen mermaids, but what I was going to say is in the movie Splash, which I watched like so many other kids in the 80s did numerous times, I don't think I ever fully appreciated it until now. Do you remember what John Candy's character, who's one of the big characters in the whole movie, is in this kid's movie? Splash? Well, it's not a kid's movie, but kids watched it.
I don't remember now.
He's Tom Hanks' brother. They work together, and he's obsessed with pornography. The whole movie is talking about women and porn, and finally, they get past the Swedish security guard because the only thing he knows in Swedish from a Swedish porn movie is, like, hey, get out of the way, I have a giant penis. And the guy just smiles and lets them go by. I watched this so many times as a kid, I never realized how filthy it was, but it's a great movie.
Filthy movie. You're suggesting that people not only watch this movie, but let their children watch this filthy movie about this degenerate and prevert who knows how to talk about his massive penis in Swedish.
No, I wouldn't, because I think you have to be very careful as a parent with any of these movies from the 80s that we watched all the time as kids. Just One of the Guys, Revenge of the Nerds. Every single movie is problematic and needs an explanation and a description.
Do you mean to say that if the kids today watch the movies that we watched in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, that they might turn out like we did? Well, there you go.
Maybe, that is a way to look at it. I saw Porky's when I was rather young, and I turned out okay.
Well, yeah.
But I think you're afraid that someone sees that and thinks that behavior is acceptable now and tries to
I was watching Porky's when I was 2-3 years old. For heaven's sake. Porky's and Donald's and Bugs's, the Porky Pig cartoons, the Bugs Bunny cartoons, the Donald Duck cartoons. I watched all those things. And I came out just fine.
Well, time will tell about that. But Jim, speaking of cartoons, what are your thoughts on the latest cartoon? The news to come out of the recent WWE tapings, live show tapings, whatever you want to call them. Keith Bearcat Lee.
Keith Lee to AEW confirmed whenever his contract is up. What has this guy done? What has this guy done? I'm not sure whether he's pissed Vince off or even worse for him, whether Vince is taking a personal interest in him. I can't tell these days which that is. They're either punishing him or elsewise Vince is really interested and this is exactly what he wants him to do. I know that certainly Vince remembers a black wrestler since Bearcat Wright. Certainly, he's employed at least 3 in the last 50 years. I don't know what to say. They put him in a tennis skirt at one point. They pulled him off television for months, and then of course we found out it was a health issue. But when they put him back on television, he's just another one of the boys, and they beat him as often as not. They've changed his music. They've switched him from one brand to another, and et cetera, et cetera. They are literally just, are they rolling dice on what his gimmick or name or music or personality or whether he's a babyface or a heel. Okay, let's see what he's got tonight. We rolled a 7. Let's see. Now he's going to be the second coming of Argentina Rocca. Keith, can you do a cartwheel? What are they doing with this guy?
There's no brain trust over there right now for creative. That's the problem.
You know that nobody on the writing staff would probably know Bearcat right if they saw, if they were looking through the police station mug books, they wouldn't be able to pick him out. I guarantee you, even Vince doesn't remember Bearcat Brown.
No way.
But Bearcat Brown got his name from Bearcat Wright.
Right.
That's what I said. What is this, Abbott and Costello? We're not talking about him now. He's on third. So it has to be Vince is the only one that he's old enough to remember seeing Bearcat Wright when he was a kid.
Bruce.
Why would no? There's nothing. Keith Lee doesn't look like Bearcat Wright. Keith Lee does not exhibit any Bearcat Wright vibe. He doesn't even exhibit any Bearcat Brown vibe. Poor Bearcat Brown drew a lot of money in Birmingham, Chattanooga, and points of that nature.
How many weeks away you think we are from Vince just calling him Bobo Lee?
I was about to say, what's next? Either Bobo Lee or fucking Keith Brazil. I don't fucking know. Or just little Bobo. I've seen both Bearcat Wright and Bearcat Brown in person. And Keith Lee doesn't remind me of either one of them. But they might as well fucking cut bait at this point because this is ridiculous. He's already in his mid-30s, and we talked about that. We said the only drawbacks that I saw to this guy when we started watching him on NXT and said, wow, was that he talked like Fraser Crane, like a college professor. He needed to be a little bit more Hulk smash when he gets pissed off or whatever and not be so lilting verbally and kind of dig in and mean it. But otherwise than that, he had the tools and he just needed to be implemented sometime quick because in his mid-30s, he's not getting any younger. And let's not waste a lot of time. What I saw a year ago, he was ready to be pushed if you fucking got a grip on it and knew how to accentuate his strengths and not eliminate, but at least, take attention away from some of his weaknesses. You put him on the main roster. Let's see. Instead, they do all the changing we talked about. He got sick. That wasn't his fault. He's out for however long, but there's a classic way to bring him back, if nothing else. Sympathy for this guy who's been off television because he was battling the fucking pandemic that's killed all these millions of people worldwide. And now he's coming back to be a professional athlete. Let's make him a babyface. Here we go. But no, then now he's a heel and he's Bearcat fucking Lee. I mean, again, are they trying to run these people off? Limitless was a lot better than Bearcat Lee. I don't know that it was the greatest thing I've ever heard, but it was new. Nobody else had done it. And it made some sense to him at least because I am limitless. He had some shit, some patter to go with it. How's he going to describe himself as a Bearcat? Is he going to start, wow, I'll scratch your eyes out?
You think his music will begin with that? Like, rawr!
Wait, the old Sable music.
Like Sable's music.
Yes, the rawr and the whip.
The whip.
We used to sit in the locker room and go, it should be Mark Marrow's music because he's pussy whipped and fucking Sable's cracking it. So why not send Marrow out to that music? But yeah, I think Sable's music will go along with Bearcat.
Let me ask you a question, not facetiously at all. I really don't know the answer. Who was the last person, in at least the time that we've been paying attention, who's been brought up from NXT and done right?
Damian Priest, kinda.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that would be the only one I could think of.
And really, he's disappeared because they put him on Raw, and we just can't watch that because it's 3 hours.
But Dijakovic had those great matches with Keith Lee. Look at what's happened to both of them. Karrion Kross. We know about what the pitch was for Adam Cole, whether Adam Cole was actually pitched it or not. It was the internal pitch about what was going to be presented to Adam Cole.
Yeah, and by the way, let me clarify something. From experience on the creative team in this company. So if everybody else out there in podcast land knows better than me, there's a lot of times that there's creative ideas pitched, even coming from Vince, and the talent doesn't hear them because something else happens and the talent either goes away or plans change, but there are a lot of ideas that the talent never hears and would be absolutely mortified in some cases to hear them that are discussed. So anyway, go ahead. Yes. What the fuck?
And then there's some like layups, like Rex Steiner. I've seen more people in the last day because NXT aired yesterday and I don't even know if I DVR'd it. I got to check because everyone's saying the show sucks, but he's great.
Yeah.
He looks like Rick, sounds like Scott. So what's his name? Braun Breaker. Fuck, it's so counterproductive, everything they do. And you could argue that Vince has always been this way. Look, Vince has always had success, but Vince has always been fucked up in his own head. And he can't just take the easy layup. The Road Warriors, they got fucked up.
Yeah.
The first time he had Flair in 91.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that, but he fucked it up. Could have been done a whole lot better. Almost every single person he brought in that was already fully formed and successful, he fucked up. He can't really get those guys anymore because they don't exist. It's a different world. It's a different business. So now he's just fucking up his own guys. He doesn't know any better.
He's taking them from his own company after they've already been on television on the same network, and he's changing their names and their whole fucking personality and putting them on another show like nobody will notice. And well, remember Vader. Like you said, it's not new. 25 years ago, Vader had not only been the WCW world champion, but a world champion on every continent except, which one's a continent, but not really, Greenland or Iceland? Every continent with people on it.
Yeah.
We're going to make him the Mastodon, pal. What? Call him the Mastodon. And I'm like, Vince, he's every wrestling fan in the world knows his name. Well, we'll start out with the Mastodon Vader, and then slowly we'll phase the Vader out. That was the first, when I heard that I was going to be managing Vader, I also heard I was going to be managing a Mastodon. And Leon did hear about that, and he wasn't any more thrilled than I was. And fortunately, by the time it got to Vince's mind went elsewhere, and we kept Vader. The man they call Vader. They just had to add the preamble to it, but at least we're doing the man they call the Mastodon. And actually, Vince would sit there and this was a quote, and he's done this with other guys. It's something that it's like a talking point that he says to people, but he's saying it to himself also, like it really means something to him. The WWF has never had a Mastodon, pal. He'll say that. I mean, I don't know that he said this about, Bastion Booger, but I wouldn't be so, the WWF's never had a booger, pal. Yeah, he will say that to guys. We've never had a this or we've never had a that. You're the first one. And that was the WWF's never had a Mastodon.
Maybe we're looking at this all wrong. Maybe this is all part of an effort to keep Vince sharp, to keep him in the game, thinking about what's going on, and maybe using the name Bearcat will make him remember Keith Lee. Maybe they'll bring up Gorilla Gargano next, and maybe we can get Baron Mikel Ciampa and all these guys with names that Vince will remember so he knows who's on his own show.
But wait, does that mean that Tommaso Ciampa has to move all the way to the Isle of Malta?
He doesn't have to do that, but he has to sell his ear no matter what. Kick to the groin, sell your ear.
But hey, Bull Curry's going to get pissed.
That's right. He mastered that. He invented that.
Yeah, he invented that. Cicluna stole it from Bull. I don't know how to explain what's going on here now. But they are, again, And I mean, Tony Khan is doing everything he can to resist this handoff, but the WWE is handing the wrestling war and the banner of the wrestling business off to AEW. And if they could ever get their own shoelaces untied and fucking just grab the baton, they can run with it. It's like watching a fight where both sides are trying to lose.
Well, Jim, I said it previously, and I think I'm going to say it again here. As much as I like Keith Lee, and as much as I want to see him in a better situation, I don't know what he's going to do. He's under WWE contract I would think for a while now he's going to be there. Perhaps he should look into another profession. Maybe he could learn how to code.
Something to fall back on. That's what you're saying.
Something to fall up on. Something that could be even better than being a WWE independent contracted wrestler.
Well, what in the world could be better than being a WWE independent contracted wrestler named Bearcat, O'Brien Last?
What if you can control your own website like Bearcat.com and you could build it yourself?
You mean our friends at Codecademy?
Of course. I mean our friends at Codecademy. That's what you mean.
Folks, I'll tell you what, the folks at Codecademy are doing God's work, and we can believe that because, as a matter of fact, this is a state-of-the-art company that's using new technology and teaching new technology for the jobs of tomorrow. Rather, if the United States had technology like this back in 1962, they would have been able to crack that code on the cover of the book that was left at the United Nations, and we would have known that it meant to serve man, which is a cookbook. Because it took the United States Army code breakers, after the Canaments had left that book, it took them days to crack the code of what the title was and what the contents of the book was. And that way, a lot of those people got on the spaceship. They would not have done that, ladies and gentlemen, if someone had been able to break that code quicker.
No.
Right, Brian?
Well, I mean, yes, but no. You see, listen, this is not the kind of coding we're talking about, as I've explained to you several times each time we do this spot.
You told me there was the Morse guy's not involved.
No, not involved.
So I figured it had to be something like outer space communication.
And I appreciate you going to that one too, because I was thinking as you were doing that, he could have went to the movie Contact, which I like. You ever see that movie with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah, McConaughey? Yes, I did. His father used to work on the old Jackie Gleason show. Hey, Mr. McConaughey.
Did you ever see with Matthew McConaughey? He was on some British talk show with like a couple other actors and actresses. And all of a sudden he starts talking about Mid-South Wrestling. He's like, oh yeah, we used to go there and throw things at Skandar Akbar. All of a sudden in England, of all places, he's talking about his love of Mid-South Wrestling.
Well, isn't he from Louisiana or Texas or somewhere down there like that?
Somewhere down there like that. And you know what? Maybe he would have had an even more successful career than his booming film career and many commercial appearances if Matthew McConaughey had learned how to code.
Oh, we're back to that now.
I didn't know how else to get us back to that. Yes, we're back to that.
After Matthew McConaughey, there's no going back after that. But, folks, if you'd like to go forward, if you would like to have a brand new job, a brand new career, enter the space age. It's too late for me, but you can still be saved. There's never been a better time to become a programmer. And with Codecademy, you can learn to code on your own terms. And if you code your own terms, then you'll have the market cornered. Nobody else will understand them because they're your own terms. Whether you're starting from scratch or looking to advance, Codecademy can help you reach your coding goals. Everyone needs coding goals. And everyone needs to achieve them and reach them. And with Codecademy, learning to code might be the easiest way to change your career. Another way to change your career would be a long prison stretch, and you'd have to find something else to do when you got out. But this is easier. Simply put, Codecademy is the best way to learn code online. They not only teach you job-ready coding skills, but also help you build, or they'll build them for you. Unique projects for your portfolio. You can earn certificates of something and even prep for technical interviews where you'll know what to talk about with the technical people. Folks, get qualified for in-demand jobs in as little as 2 months. Learn at your own pace and your own level. That might be easy for me to say, but not you. Choose what to learn, from building websites to analyzing data and everything else you could want. I'd like a cheeseburger, please. Learn coding languages, including Python, HTML/CSS, SQL, JavaScript, and more. If you're not sure where to begin, like we all are, Codecademy will point you in the right direction. Instant feedback, interactive platform, other words, and loud noises. Folks, land your dream job in web development, programming, computer science, data science, and tons more stuff that I won't read now because the words are strange and they're frightening to me. Join the millions. Stop it. Join the millions of people learning to code with Codecademy. See where coding can take you. It's taken me way off the beaten path. And get 15% off your Codecademy Pro membership when you go to codecademy.com and use the promo code EXPERIENCE. I'll spell a lot of these words. Experience. EXP. Shut up. EXPERIENCE. Codecademy.com is C. What?
You spelled it wrong. I think you left out an E.
EXPERIENCE.
The second E, I think you left out last time.
Well, I put it in there now. And Codecademy.com is CODECADEMY.com. Codecademy.com. The promo code EXPERIENCE. Get 15% off. Whatever, I don't know what that would be, but you'll find out. It's the best way to learn to code. Codecademy.com. Promo code EXPERIENCE. You'll be shooting rockets off to the moon with the code that you'll learn here. Loud noises.
Loud, very loud. All right, well, that took 7 minutes. Let's get another question here. Jim, a very popular topic, and we definitely have to talk about this because some people are taking a weird approach to it. Have you seen that AEW have entered into a relationship with the Owen Hart Foundation?
I have, and I retweeted that. I think it's the first time that I have retweeted in, as the kids would say, a non-ironic way, an AEW tweet. But that was nice to hear. And I guess there's going to be a multiple layers to this partnership, but they're raising money for the Owen Hart Foundation. Martha Hart's on board, obviously. This is going to be a great way because all the Owen Hart fans, everybody's always said they want him to be recognized. They want him to be brought up and talked about and etc. And obviously, and rightfully so, Martha doesn't want the company that's responsible for her husband's death to profit or to glorify or to celebrate or to basically utter Owen Hart's name. And I can't blame her, as I've said many times. So this is a way for everybody to get what they want. And I was happy to hear about it. Do you have the copy there, the different things they said? I read it and I did not take notes, but they're going to be doing a variety of different things in conjunction with Martha and the foundation, etc.
I have two different statements here, a long form and a short form.
Let's go with the short form and see what happens.
Here's the short form. AEW and the Owen Hart Foundation enter into a relationship to honor the world-renowned wrestler Owen Hart. September 20th, 2021. All Elite Wrestling, AEW, and the Owen Hart Foundation, OHF, a nonprofit charity which provides a vast range of assistance and opportunities to individuals in need across the world, are collaborating to honor the legacy of late wrestler Owen Hart, a beloved figure in the professional wrestling community and beyond. This collaboration includes launching the annual Owen Hart Cup tournament within AEW, which will see the winner receive a cup known as the Owen. as well as the production and distribution of unique and original Owen Hart merchandise, including specified retail goods, as well as the upcoming AEW console video game.
Well, I can't wait to get some of those specified retail goods.
What does that mean? That's such a weird thing to put in a press statement.
I don't have any. I got t-shirts, hats, pennants, or specified retail goods. But point is, we get Owen Hart merchandise. So that's a good thing, too.
It is. And, even, I know you're not a video game guy, but I love the idea that Owen Hart will be in that video game. Some kid will get that video game and find out who Owen Hart is. And it's such a great era that if you were a kid and interested in history and you found out about Owen Hart, let's say you're 12 years old and you just find out about Owen Hart, you can go watch matches on YouTube. You can go Google him. You can find out so much. So this is a great way to introduce Owen Hart, I would think, to another generation of people. And it wasn't going to be with WWE, and I brought up that some people had interesting takes. I saw, and I think it's ignorant, the view that how dare she not let Owen go into the Hall of Fame? I mean, this keeps coming up. And,
oh, for heaven's sake.
Why not let WWE do it? AEW is just looking to capitalize on Owen Hart, which, give me a break. I mean, kill AEW when they deserve it. Don't kill AEW when they don't deserve it.
No. Yeah, I mean, they're giving Owen's widow a palatable way to do all the things that the fans have wanted for him to merchandise, featured a video game, be recognized, keep memory alive. Owen Hart Cup. Hopefully they won't put it on Jelly Nutella or our little dog pockets, for heaven's sake. I would think there'd be some quality control there. But she's doing everything that they've wanted, just not with the company responsible for the situation to begin with. So what the fuck? As my mother used to say, people would complain if you hung them with a brand new rope. What more do you want? You ain't going to get nothing, folks. And I'm not saying the cult of Cornette members out there. They're level-headed and responsible. I'm talking about all the people bitching about this. You're not going to get any Owen Hart because Martha's against it, and rightfully so, with the WWE. So you are going to get a bunch of Owen Hart with AEW. That's not AEW capitalizing on Owen Hart or however it was phrased there. That's AEW. Finally, there's another promotion with national television and a reach that is preferable, that'll treat probably the Hart family, or at least Martha's family, more respectably and more responsibly than the WWE did, and be able to merchandise the products and put his name out there in front of, as we just said, a whole new audience potentially, or different audience, or the people who liked him who haven't heard as much as they wanted to hear, etc. So why would anybody be and the Hall of Fame? Give me a fucking break. Seriously, they're acting like getting in the WWE Hall of Fame is getting on the fucking spaceship when the meteor is coming and that's the last one leaving. It's ridiculous. It's a nice thing for people who are into that. And they do a big production, but it's still, as we've mentioned, and I've been involved in it, but it's still a fucking marketing and merchandising show that's, it's not going to make a difference in your overall career, whether you are recognized as a great or not, because you're going into a company-run Hall of Fame.
I don't know the answer. Maybe you do. I know he made an appearance early on when they debuted the AEW World Championship. Is Bret Hart currently under a WWE Legends deal?
I don't think so. I mean, he certainly wasn't at the time that he made that appearance a couple of years ago, and one would think if that status has changed, he would have done something, or we would have heard about it, or there'd have been some announcement or product or whatever. He just, what was it he just did here recently? Now I'm trying to think. Something else that would not have been potentially possible if he was under the auspices of the WWE. So I don't think so.
That could be interesting. He already has a relationship with AEW. He was there when they debuted the title, like I said, and all of a sudden you're going to honor Owen Hart.
Well,
I mean, I know there's some heat between him and Martha, and I don't know if heat's even the right word.
Well, I was just going to, what is that what is that relationship like? Not that they're sending nasty letters to each other and leaving bags of flaming poop on each other's porch, but what is their relationship? But still, one would think that, you wouldn't turn down Bret Hart being able to appear and publicize this thing. So I will see what happens. That'd be, Jesus Christ. Well, they may not be able to bring Flair in quickly to AEW, but maybe they'll just replace that with Bret Hart. I mean, this is ridiculous. Not only do the young guys want to go to AEW, but now the legends do too. Because they see, well, Jesus, instead of being talked about like pieces of shit and humiliated and emasculated on camera, maybe we can just go there and get some money and be a part-time color commentator.
By the way, reading this press release here, at the bottom, AEW has a list of various wrestlers that work for them. Again, this is going out to the general press.
Yeah.
You want to hear the list? Because it may be telling who's in it and who's not in it.
Sure.
Founded by CEO, general manager, and head of creative Tony Khan, AEW is a...
He doesn't have enough titles.
He's got to make sure everyone knows all of them, of course. AEW is a new professional wrestling league headlined by Kenny Omega, Dr. Britt Baker, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Chris Jericho, Cody and Brandy Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, Adam Cole, Sting, Jon Moxley, Miro, the Lucha Brothers, Pac, I hear he's a bastard, Hangman Page, MJF, Darby Allin, Nyla Rose, Red Velvet.
Now they're going deep in the catalog.
Ruby Soho, Hikaru Shida, Jade Cargill, Thunder Rosa, Malachi Black, Andrade El Idolo, excuse me, everyone out there. Christian Cage,
Leo.
Jungle Boy,
Jungle Love,
Sammy Guevara, Scorpio Sky,
Jesus Christ,
Ethan Page, Orange Cassidy, Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, Lance Archer, and many more.
There are? How many more are? How big a boy is he? How many more are there?
So considering they got that many names in there, what does it say about the names that are not in there?
I'm trying to think of the names that aren't in there.
FTR.
Oh my God.
They named everyone else in the fucking company.
Everybody Santana down to Howie the mailroom guy.
Yeah, Santana and Ortiz, I guess, would be also notable. They got Hangman Page. They didn't get the Dark Order. I guess Dark Order fans will be disappointed. Or Big Money Matt Hardy.
Did somebody and actually Matt Hardy is a name you would have put down before Red Velvet or even, to be honest, Powerhouse Hobbs, because Matt Hardy is a name. Couldn't they have gone with CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, Matt Hardy, Chris Jericho, Jon Moxley, and then sneak in their executive vice presidents, Twinkle Toes and the Hardley Boys and Cody, and that's it.
Well, although I will give them credit if this is why they did it this way. It's Omega, Britt Baker, CM Punk. Did Tony Khan say it has to be the world champions and then the top star? In that case, I am okay with it.
I think when they went through the rabbit hole of the last 20 people, they cluttered their statement up with names of people who go, okay, all right, we're tuning out now. Hit them with the names that the mainstream press would probably be familiar with and many others. Because everybody knows the guy that gets booked most often in every wrestling promotion is the guy named many others. Think about it. He's on every card.
It's true.
You could have thought about it a little longer and maybe chuckled.
Plus, Preliminary went out of style a long time ago. He would have been a contender. But they don't use the word preliminary anymore.
That's another thing, just preliminary. That's a little sporting terminology that they just can't bring themselves to say. It's in every fight card. The UFC has preliminaries. Every boxing card has preliminaries. Wrestling has preliminaries. And as Lawler said one time when he was doing a fucking interview when Jimmy Valiant was switching heel on him, you're at a preliminary match. You know what a preliminary match is? That's where they put the preliminary wrestlers, and that's what you are. And that was an insult worthy of a fucking right cross to the fucking nose. You're a preliminary guy. That's what I told Santana Marino or Santino Marella, whichever his name is. I said, you're a preliminary wrestler. That's where they put the preliminary wrestlers, in the preliminary matches.
All right. Well,
anyway,
real quick before we move on to our latest wrestling question, I do want to quickly try to sell you on the Mets documentary series, because it is available to you on demand, I would assume. It's like wrestling. The Mets were a franchise that started after the Dodgers and the Giants left New York, leaving New York with nothing but the Yankees, an American League team, and the Mets started and they stunk, and they still drew big houses because people were so happy to see baseball, National League Baseball back. They drew big houses. They got a brand new stadium. They sucked. Some of the most embarrassing baseball ever. But they were drawing these big houses. And then out of nowhere.
There's a correlation here. You mean people were so starved just to see something different that they willingly watched a shitty product and loved it and bought tickets to see it because at least it wasn't the other shit they had to put up with?
Exactly. There's a lot of wrestling connections here. And then 1969, out of nowhere, the Miracle Mets. These young players with a few veterans shocked the world, led by Tom Seaver, win the World Series.
Cinderella story,
perfect time, 1969.
Out of nowhere.
Man lands on the moon, Woodstock, Mets win the World Series. And then Altamont. It's almost like 1970 with Altamont. I'm going to move that a little forward. But then the Mets fall into disarray throughout the 70s. By the end of the 70s, there's no one there. Go talk to Pete Letterberg. There's no one in Shea Stadium, and the team sucks.
Oh, I thought you meant there was nobody talking to Pete Letterberg.
Well, maybe too. I mean, you have to ask Pete about that, but there was no one there. The team sucked, and they got sold, and a new general manager, a new booker came in and told the owners, it's going to take me 5 years to have stars ready, and then we'll win a World Series. But we're going to have some rough years ahead. And it's all about how he put together this team, drafting young guys like Dwight Gooden and Darryl Strawberry, trading for a Keith Hernandez and a Gary Carter, bringing up young guys through their system, trying to get a team that worked, and it all coming together in 1986. You can appreciate that. It all came together for Crockett Promotions in 1986.
That golden year.
There's a lot, if you could look at it with the right eyes, because I know you're not a baseball fan, I think you would enjoy it because of the personalities, the stories, but also it's the story of building something that works and how it fell apart.
Well, I do like documentaries. I watched the baseball documentary because I love Shoeless Joe Jackson. Say It Ain't So, Joe. The 1919 Black Sox scandal. All the Babe Ruth footage. Ty Cobb, Lou Gehrig, the farewell speech. I feel like the luckiest man on earth. I like that stuff. It's history.
That was a bit more Gary Cooper than Lou Gehrig there, but do you know who wrote the Shoeless Joe Jackson biography?
I'm aware of that. Tim Hornbaker. He sent me a copy of that, autographed. Tim Hornbaker has done the most incredible history books on wrestling, Capital Revolution and the NWA book, and then The Death of the Territories, where he took the 100 years of wrestling history and coalesced it into those 3 volumes, and still an expert on Shoeless Joe and the 1919 Black Sox scandal. Amazing, Tim Hornbaker. Amazing.
And now that I think about it, his next book will be pretty interesting, too, considering what it is. Do you remember what it is?
What is it? Well, he just did Buddy Rogers. What's the next one?
The Ric Flair biography.
Oh, boy, howdy. Wait a minute. Hold on here.
What do you got? What sound? That's the Boy Howdy?
Or... how about that?
She's running from Boy Howdy, maybe.
All right. Take us on a helicopter ride.
Well, some of you may be listening to the show and thinking, what's going on? They just did this 4.5-hour masterpiece. What is this shit? And you wouldn't be wrong, folks. You wouldn't be wrong. And perhaps you're thinking of a way of finding restitution for the wasted time you've spent listening to this.
Those people are not out looking for restitution. Well, restitution is illegal in most states, except for some counties in Nevada, but not even in Las Vegas itself. In Las Vegas itself, restitution is still illegal. You got to go outside the city limits and then to the Bunny Ranch and those other places where restitution is legal. That's what you got to do. But if you want to sue somebody's ass off, drag them into court, legally slap them about the head and face, turn them upside down and shake them for change, then I got the guy for you.
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. Still to the rest.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, every once in a while, you may just feel like you've hit the wall, and you may be saying, like Brian just did, what the hell is this shit? And you may be thinking to yourself, I can't take anymore. I've done too much. And then you've realized that you've thrown your hands up and you've said, I've got to do it. I've got to retain the services of the consigliere of the cult of Cornette, Stephen P. New, newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084, because you'll say, I've had enough. I've had all I can stands, and I can't stands no more, and I demands my prostitution and my restitution. And that is in the form of a settlement that Stephen P. New will arrange for you with our American jurisprudence system after he proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that you've been lied to, you've been cheated, you've been flim-flammed, you've been hornswoggled, you have been zoomed, you've been taken advantage of, and you've been harmed in some fashion or form by a greedy, avaricious corporation or a needlessly negligent operation who has had a negative impact on your life, and you want to get even. Take them to court. newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084. As we've said many times, if Stephen P. New can't get your ass paid, your ass does not accept cash. And he is the man, whether it's your health or your financial security or your family or your friends, if someone's been harmed, you need to seek recourse. And if you can't find recourse, then go to Stephen P. New, 888-692-8084. Recourse, I believe, is a town in Pennsylvania. Or is that intercourse?
Intercourse.
Well, if you want to have intercourse with Stephen P. New, go to newlawoffice.com.
Oh, my God.
It's a social intercourse where you can go back and forth. Yes. You can have intercourse with him of a verbal description where there's entering and then there's the course. And it's intercourse back and forth amongst the two of you when you're discussing the plans that you're making for all the money that he's going to win you in court when he gets even with all the people that fucked you around. So have intercourse with Stephen P. New.
I love Stephen P. New, and I was already feeling bad. I thought, man, I hate that we transitioned into this spot by talking about prostitution and the Bunny Ranch. But then you topped it off by talking about going to his office and having intercourse with Stephen P. New.
Some social intercourse with a man that can help you out, for heaven's sake. There's got to be a give and take. It can't just all be you talking to him or him talking to you. There has to be the back and forth, the give and take, the intercourse. Let's just look that up, shall we? Hold on here one second.
In your atlas or in your dictionary?
Well, no, the atlas tells you where shit is.
That's right. Of course it does.
The dictionary tells you what shit means.
You have your Webster's dictionary?
Incubus, indeterminate, indispensable, indisposed, indulge, inextinguishable.
Thank you.
Innsbruck, I think that's in Austria. Interferometer. An interferometer is an instrument that uses interference phenomena between waves to make measurements as of wavelengths or very small distances. However, interpersonal, Well, I've gone too far now. Interferon. Wait a minute. Interest, intercept, interchange, intercollegiate, intercommunicate, interconnect, intercourse, social or commercial exchange, communication. See? I'm not just whistling Dixie up here in this place.
That's
I know
fine.
what I'm talking about.
You sure do, but I want nothing to do with your social or commercial intercourse, for that matter.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, let's get a couple more questions here on the show before we wrap things up. A popular topic we have not gotten to. I'll read this question here. This was sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Justin in West Virginia. Maybe he knows Stephen P. New.
It's a small state.
I wanted to hear Jim's opinion on what Chris Jericho said on Instagram about beating MJF and the Inner Circle in the feud with beating MJF and the Inner Circle Pinnacle feud. And I have a quote here, and in a way it's good that we haven't gotten to this until now because we're now several weeks away from this feud. Maybe the way you see it has changed.
No, I think I still saw it exactly the same way, but go ahead.
From Chris Jericho's Instagram, Jericho versus MJF was the longest storyline of my career, and one of the best. The angle started in September of 2020, and it ended last night at one of the greatest pay-per-views of all time, with the good guy making the bad guy tap out.
Oh my God.
The angle between the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle was full of twists and turns, comedy, tragedy, friendship, betrayal, blood, bubbly, and genuine animosity. But overall, I feel it was brilliant.
Oh, I'm sure he does. By the way, there probably was some genuine animosity in there, but go ahead.
I feel it was a brilliant, expertly told tale that was one of the best in the business from the last 20 years.
Oh, for God.
I hope all of you enjoyed watching this pro wrestling magnum opus as much as we did telling it. On to the next challenge. Hashtag AEW All Out.
Where do I fucking start? First of all, are you out of your fucking mind? This is wrong on so many levels. And I've just heard this. I've never heard this comment before. I just heard this for the first time, and I'm trying to process this. In any situation, how would this... He's a babyface now, so he can't say I'm being a heel by being a fucking egotistical prick about my handiwork, but he's a babyface, so he shouldn't be coming off like that, and that's the way he's coming off. Also, he's actually putting himself in the movie star role and the movie reviewer role. It's like if Siskel and Ebert starred in a major motion picture or a sitcom and then reviewed it and gave themselves both glowing reviews.
He did that before. Remember we read that post from like 2002 where he gave himself like 4 stars for a match?
Well, yes. But I figured it's after a show. He's alone in his hotel room. He's bored and he's stroking himself. Figuratively, possibly literally.
Some things never change.
Some things never change, apparently. Except he wasn't sitting in a hotel room alone after a show. This is weeks after the fact. But, and then what? Doesn't that drag MJF down with him? Because now he's not only told everybody, yeah, I'm a phony piece of shit that loves the smell of my own farts, and I planned this whole thing out because of my genius to entertain all of you plebeians out there, as Bobby Heenan would say. It drags MJF down, too. Oh, and by the way, the guy that was doing it all with me, he's just as phony as a football bat, just like I am. And we did this all to fool you and get a rise out of you. So he's coming off like a heel when he's a babyface. He's definitely coming off like an obnoxious asshole because, Jesus Christ on a cracker. Even if you liked the thing, it wasn't the greatest wrestling angle of the last 20 years. He's burying the guy he was in it with as being a fake and a phony, contradicting what airs and is talked about on their very own television program. all so that the fans will go, "Oh, Chris, your angle was so good, and you're so smart, and you're so cool." Why would you do something like that?
If you're insecure, you may want the reaction that you would hope it would get.
Well, I don't think it got that reaction. I think that everybody's better off that it's over with, especially MJF, so he doesn't get flushed down the toilet anymore. Jericho just said, "Hey, this is the greatest angle of wrestling of the last 20 years that involved me flushing a heel's fucking head down the toilet." Now that I would have bought that it was the best angle of the last 20 years in wrestling that involved the overweight, overage babyface flushing the heel down a toilet. Because it was also the only one of those. That's insufferable.
He's delusional. I mean, that's the problem. The problem is Jericho has awful ideas. He's convinced they're all great. Nothing will change his mind. And Tony Khan is a massive Jericho fan. So he gives him more slack than he would almost anyone. And therein lies the problem.
Can you imagine Steve Austin saying the same thing after a pay-per-view? Can you imagine even Mick Foley blowing himself to that extent, even though Mick likes to give out compliments and talk, positively and good about everything. Oh, positive, good. But can you imagine any major star in wrestling, except for some MJF? That sounds like a thing that he would probably say as a prick heel to make people think that he was more obnoxious and self-centered than he is already. But can you think of any major wrestling star of the last 20 years saying something like that in public about the shit that they were themselves in? Even if they did want to expose the business.
I'm sure there has to be someone that I'm not thinking of, but Jericho specifically does it a little more than most, because I can think of instances where he's done something and he's acting one way, and then he's on his podcast talking to the person he's doing it with. It's like, why don't you save that interview for, a year down the road, 2 years down the road? I know you're desperate for some numbers, but come on.
Nah, come on, Brian. Don't say something like that. Having those guys on the show is not going to give him any numbers.
Well, I just think he's fucking nuts. I think he's delusional. He does the worst shit and he thinks it's great. But there's also no one there to stop him.
Or is he trying to talk everybody else into it? Does he know that it did nothing for MJF except delay him in his path to get over, and it was all about Jeribloat, but now he's trying to say that so that other people out there will go, "Oh, well, shit, apparently everybody liked it, so I must have been the only one." You think that's it?
Do you think Jericho, based on everything you've seen, and you know the guy very well, or, you did in the past?
No, I did in the past.
You did in the past.
Before he, lost all of his marbles, but go ahead.
But also based on what you've seen since then, do you think he really believes, do you think he knows that this did no good for MJF?
That's a hard question, because if you have any experience in the wrestling business, you would almost have to know that. And Jericho's got a lot of experience in the wrestling business. However, there is that blind spot that many people have when it comes to their own shit. So, as Jackie Fargo used to say, it might be a pick 'em. I don't know. Could go either way.
All right, and that's the Chris Jericho portion of the show. Let's get one or two more questions before we wrap things up. If I could find one or two questions.
If you could find one, where's Charlie?
You want Charlie? Hold on.
Charlie, when you need him.
Okay, here's a question. The latest question sent in 6 hours ago.
Okay.
From Charlie in Starkville, Mississippi.
I didn't realize it'd be that quick. You would just instantly like that.
Hi, Jim. Rene Dupree recently said The Undertaker ordered other wrestlers to bully him because he wouldn't go out to the bar drinking with them. Dupree said they destroyed his expensive shoes and suit. They also put his French flag in the toilet and defecated on it. What are your thoughts on Dupree's take on The Undertaker ordering other wrestlers to bully him?
Oh, good Lord. I wasn't there when Rene Dupree was there. I was in OVW. I had Rene Dupree before they had Rene Dupree. Rene Dupree was a heck of a wrestling talent. He was only 18 years old when they brought him to OVW, but he was already like 6'2" or 6'3", 230 pounds, had a great physique, and was a pretty good worker. But the problem was, vive la resistance! He was French-Canadian. And he made a ton of enemies because, as we've mentioned many times, even if they're nice people, French Canadians have a manner about them that for whatever reason just annoys the teetotal fuck out of most Americans.
I just want to say hello to Bertrand DeBear out there, a friend of mine and a good guy.
Well, no, I mean, there's exceptions. Pat Patterson, the fucking nicest, friendliest person that you sit down and talk to for hours, right? But Jacques Rougeau, Kevin Steen, and on and on and on. So I don't necessarily, I believe that Rene Dupree's French flag was put in the toilet and pooped on. I poop on you. And I believe that, I don't think the wrestlers bullied him, because it sounds like we're fucking six and we're on the playground. I think they fucked with him because he got heat with OVW guys for the same kind of shit. It's not even an on-purpose thing with many French Canadians. They just come off, in large part, in many cases, in a strange way, and or that they're in love with themselves, especially the ones in wrestling. So, did all that happen? Probably. Did Undertaker order any of the boys? I don't know that he would have had to twist their arm. Sounds like to me that probably that shit was already percolating anyway. Did Undertaker maybe bless it and say, yeah, that's what you ought to do? That may have been possible also. But I wasn't there, so I'm not going to implicate the Undertaker except to say that for fuck's sake, he ordered the boys to bully me. Come, are we fucking 8 years old? I know sometimes guys act like it, but seriously, whether he got his flag shit on or his crown shit in, as Lawler did, did Jerry Lawler ever come out on social media and say, well, the guys bullied me?
Well, you know who's shitting his crown?
Steve Kern.
Which makes it even more interesting, considering it's a Memphis guy.
Well, yeah, because he was mad because
he wasn't a WWF guy, technically. He was a Memphis guy.
Well, he was mad because the Fabs were pretty hot, but Lawler was always hotter, but Kern felt like they should have got more money, blah, blah, blah. But it's not like the end of the fucking world. And I'm sure that Lawler looked and went, oh, shit. There's another crown. Boom, done. Over with. He didn't give a shit about stuff like that. But the point of the bullying is called ribbing and or fucking with people. And yes, I believe that the boys did that to Rene Dupree because he was young and he came off arrogant and he was French-Canadian and he was the son of a promoter, so he had a little bit of entitlement about him. And that's why it would have been more beneficial to his career if they'd have left him either in developmental or not even signed him when he was 18. Wait till, I used to say, you're sending me guys that in some cases can't even legally vote or drink or rent a car, and we're supposed to get them ready to go worldwide on the road in 6 months. If Rene had got a little bit more experience and then gone to developmental, and then they'd called him up when he was 22, 23, 24, it may have been a little better for everybody. And that's not just with Rene Dupree, that's with any other guys that they just rush when they're so fucking young.
A couple follow-ups for you. Out of all the young guys you've been around, let's say 20 and under, who's the one who had it together the most? That wasn't immature, that guys didn't fuck with because they didn't give them any reason to fuck with them. Who had it together the most amongst the, maybe 20's too young, up to 25. Amongst the young guys that you've been around and brought into the business and trained, who had it together the most?
Well, now, Jesus Christ, when you go up to 25 at one point,
23.
I don't know. Well, but now I'd have to go back over the documents. What was the guy's exact age? But at one point, most of the guys in OVW were 25 or under, or very close to it. I mean, going back in history, I don't know about having it together in their personal life per se, but there was never a bigger prodigy as a teenager in wrestling than Terry Gordy. Except maybe Bobby Eaton.
I can think, well, Luthez.
Well,
was he 17?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was 17 when he started and 21 when he won the world title. Of course, we didn't actually get to see in person, but he was a prodigy. But let's just within the modern era. Gordy was fucking fantastic as a teenager, but of course he was a wild man outside the ring and never changed that aspect. I can't remember how old Cena was when he came to Louisville, but I've mentioned many times how he impressed everybody. He showed up. He already had a place to live. He already fucking had his shit together. He already, he was driving the ring truck within weeks. He was, he was one of the captains of industry in OVW. But, it's more often than not the guys that you hear about that fuck up, it's because they're young rather than you hear about the prodigy that's young. Kurt Angle was a prodigy in learning, and so was The Rock, but they were both more mature. They had been through college and or some of life.
What about Ken Doane?
Well, there you go. Ken Doane was another guy. Athletically, size-wise, physically. He was, 6'4", 6'5", 200-something pounds. And he was 19 years old. They bring him down here. And he got heat with some of the guys because, it's a learning process. And he, I guess, got heat when he went up there because it's a learning process. And if guys are, just a little bit more mature and have been around a little bit longer, they know not only how to handle things, but also, just how not to just say stupid things that get heat on themselves or do things. And I'm not talking about, in the WWE, it got to the point where guys were walking on eggshells because they were so afraid to do anything or say anything. And one of the cliques would get on them or whatever. They've taken it to an extreme, but there's always been guys that are new in the business and they come off wrong because they don't know how to talk to the boys. They don't know what to say or whatever. And that just takes time. The guys that are young and fuck up because they're young generally don't fuck up in the ring. They're getting the spot because they're advanced in the ring or they're advanced beyond their experience level, but they fuck up with personal interactions or not knowing how to exist on the road or not knowing how to take care of their money or not knowing how to talk to the other boys or whatever the case. That's where they start getting sideways. And that's why I always thought, it's great for guys to get in the business young and to be trained either by veterans or around veterans or whatever, but don't, leave them. That's the thing about the territories. They could still be local. You could have young guys that could just sit in the corner with their mouths shut and learn from the veterans, and they weren't on national TV, and they weren't making a fortune. There wasn't all this money on the line and pressure and et cetera. Let them ease into it. That's the way guys used to learn. There was less trouble. Now, when, 6 months of developmental straight out of goddamn a mud show somewhere, and then you're traveling the world and you're on national TV. Well, sometimes that's hard.
All right, Jim, our next question, our final question here this week.
No, say it ain't so, Joe.
Sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from David McCutcheon in St. Louis, Missouri.
Home of Emo's Pizza.
Yeah, I've seen mixed reviews since you talked about them on the show.
Oh, some people just can't take the Provel.
Is that what it is when they say it's disgusting? Is it specifically the cheese?
It's for whatever reason, people either love the cheese or they hate the cheese. They no in between on the Provel cheese. I love it. I dearly love it. Your lips will smack your brains out. It's so good.
We'll see if David follows up and lets us know his review. But something I have always been curious about is how long it took to get out of the hospital for the boys who actually went there as part of an angle. I've tried to get out of the hospital after arriving, and it takes hours to be dispatched.
Yes.
Excuse me. Hours to be discharged, not dispatched.
Dispatched or discharged.
Discharged.
Or disgruntled.
How were the doctors never tipped off? Any insight on this stuff would truly placate this chatter in my brain about the subject. P.S. Brian, sorry about the Mets. Thank you, David.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. You can't go to the hospital for a broken leg angle or a broken arm angle because that's easily disproven. Because a doctor can tell whether your arm is broken or your leg is broken or even whether there's been serious. I mean, if you're going to call an ambulance for a limb, an arm, a leg, a body part like that, even if it's not broken, you have to have serious discoloration or the doctor can see through it, right? So most of the time when those things happen, the hospitalization angle ends with the ambulance they called letting the guy out around the corner, or, we carried him to the back and we said he went to the hospital or whatever. But to really go to the hospital, and I've done it, and other guys have done it, you need to either have an existing injury that you can point to, or you need to work a neck injury. Because the one thing, Andy Kaufman proved this, every car crash lawsuit practically has proven this, you can't prove or disprove a neck injury. All you can do is go by what the person says happened, what witnesses say happened, and what they felt, and whether it hurts or not. That's why most of the time, anybody that the pile driver go to the hospital, you're good. And now they smarten doctors up, or they have doctors on staff, or they don't actually take you to a hospital or even a medical facility. But, for example, when Bob Armstrong pile drove me in Knoxville at the big show, we basically said, Bob Armstrong will send me to the same hospital that I sent him to at the Volunteer Slam, or elsewise he'll refund the money of every man, woman, and child who buys a ticket to see that match. So people either said, okay, we're going to go see Cornette go to the hospital, or it's free. So, of course, I'm going to the hospital. And what we did was called the ambulance. As soon as we got the pile drivers, called the ambulance. It takes 10 minutes. We're in downtown Knoxville, but it takes 10 minutes for him to get there. But in the meantime, my guys are checking on me, and we sent the EMTs from the arena that work there, whatever. And then here comes the ambulance people. And I said, okay, the guys are already there with me, and they're kind of telling, because I don't want to be too chatty. But I'm holding my neck still. I've already got juice. I got a cut on my head. So they see blood all over. They don't know what's going on. And I said, he picked me up, and when he sat down, my neck was in between his legs, and I felt a crack and a burning on my right side here, and my fingers were tingling, and I'm not sure, but it hurts. Okay, that's all they need to hear. They ain't going to do anything they're not going to perform surgery in the ring. They bring in a backboard, put you on the backboard, tape you to it so you can't move and potentially damage the injury further. And then they put you in the ambulance. They take you to the hospital. Well, the hospital in Knoxville was 2 blocks away. Hildebrand goes with me, Mark Curtis. They wheeled me in and left me in the hallway for 2 hours before I went in, not an hour and a half, before I went into x-ray. And then they wheel me in the x-ray thing, and it's late at night, so the guy's by himself. And that's what I've told a story before, but I'm laying there still taped to this board, and some guy walks in and said, gosh, Jim, I didn't think Bob was going to do that to you. I said, who are you? It was some fan that had come from the matches. He wanted to make sure that I went to the hospital, and then also I guess he kind of felt bad for me because I'm taped to a board and I'm bleeding. They're going to x-ray me. He walked in the goddamn x-ray deal. And it's 1 o'clock in the morning. So anyway, after that, I would say it was another 2 hours probably until I got out of there. They said, okay, we got the x-rays, read them. You know, there's nothing out of place or whatever. They gave me a neck collar. And here's the thing, the visible injury, they never cleaned my cut off. I've still got all the crusty blood in my hair and they put a bandage on it, but they never cleaned me off. So when they untaped me from that backboard, I had been on that board for 4 hours. Imagine being taped to a board motionless for 4 fucking hours. I hurt worse when I got off the board than I did after the match. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and then Hildebrand drove me back home. But that's, you know, you have to work it and you have to follow through with it. And in those days, we did not smarten the doctors up. You did, but when Bob went, fortunately, or unfortunately, we had done the angle where we handcuffed him like he was on the cross to the cage, and then I whacked him in the chest and stomach with the racket umpteen million times. And either I was too stiff with the racket or the guys spread him out too far, but it cracked his sternum for real because they diagnosed him. You've got a bruised and cracked sternum, and something else was going on. So, and that's, you know, the doctors believed it. So that was good for the business. But yeah, if you go to the hospital, you got to work it and you got to know what you can work and you got to go all the way through with it. And fuck, sometimes they might want to keep you. The time at Fort Bragg, they did the Clash of Champions. It was the World Tag Title Tournament. And Paul Lee came out and hit me from behind with a loaded tennis racket that he had created where we actually took the cover off and you saw there was chains and a rock and whatever in it. So I'm selling like I'm unconscious, and it's 130 degrees in that place that night. There was no air conditioning to speak of. And it was the Army base, and the place is full and the TV lights. So when they took me out, the EMTs, I was saying, oh, God, I'm so dizzy. Oh, shit, my head, when I fell, but I think I'm going to puke. And I'm sweating like a pig anyway. They wanted to take me to the hospital and hydrate me. Oh, you need liquid. And then I'm like, no, I didn't want to go to the hospital in Fort Bragg for this fucking angle. I said, no, I'll be okay. Just give me some cold water. But they'll take you and keep you sometimes. But you know, that's part of it.
Has there ever been an instance where you have a kayfabe medic or something, but the real medics try to jump in because they think something's really going on?
Yes, in short version, yes. Sometimes you would have one person like it, you know, even the
like I remember Greg Greenland being a medic on WWF television. I forget what it was, like Tatanka or someone got hit with a chair, and Greg's like checking for their pulse or whatever it was. But I always wonder, like, they had their own people. Obviously, he wasn't a medic, but what about the real medics? Do they ever feel the need to get involved?
Well, see, that's the thing is, if like in modern times, a lot of the promotions have doctors. AEW's got Dr. Sampson, but I guess they stole the doctor from WWF also. He's the one who saved Lawler. I would think it's easier when you've got some medical person that is smart and is in on it that can talk in those terms. If they are indeed working the other medical personnel, instead of being, you know, just smartening them up. But in those days, the territory days, you didn't have a doctor. You didn't have any kind of medical personnel. If the building, the arena that you were in had an EMT, you know, section or on call or whatever, that's the best you could hope for. But there was no traveling doctor or any medical aid or even trainer for the promotion. So there was no way you could really have somebody on the inside. You had to, if you were going to call an ambulance, you had to deal with what you got. That's why there's another reason Lawler didn't want to call the ambulance for Kaufman, because like, how long is it going to take to get here? That's why he laid in the in the ring for so long because the ambulance station around the corner from the Coliseum, the guy was on a run, so they had to send it from somewhere else, and he laid there 20 minutes.
How long was he in the hospital for?
Oh, he stayed there for 3 or 4 days. And see, that was the beauty of it. A neck injury, they can't tell you. You know, fuck you, there's nothing wrong with you. If you say there is, and especially now they've got a TV star, what are they going to kick him out in the street? And well, seriously, he's a network TV star, and he comes in an ambulance saying that Jerry Lawler, who everybody in Memphis knew who Jerry Lawler was, has dropped me on my head at the Coliseum and my neck cracked. Oh, shit. My cousin Larry's wife was the head nurse of one of the floors at the hospital where they brought Kaufman that night because I would stay with them. They lived in Memphis then, and I would stay with them when I was on the Memphis end. And when I came back that night after the show, they were like, so he really got hurt? They were like, oh shit, he should have been messing with the wrestlers because they'd seen me come in with stitches in my fucking face, whatever, right? No, I tell a lie. They hadn't then because that's before I got into business. But they still knew that shit happened. So Terry was like, yeah, he really got hurt, huh? And I'm like, well, yeah, boy, geez, you should have seen it. Because I'm figuring they're smart to the business because they know me and they know that I'm not really saying and meaning all these things on television. But at the same time, they bought that because it was so unusual. So I didn't want to spoil it for them.
Hey, speaking of wrestlers, or speaking of WWE, actually, specifically traveling with doctors, what do you remember? How was Dr. Francois Petit sold to you? What do you remember first hearing about him?
Dr. Francois. I mean, he wasn't sold to me. I mean, he could have been there or not as far as I was concerned because I wasn't, in need of his services. But he was, oh God, I forget the specialty osteopathic.
Yeah, osteopath.
There you go. He's a body expert. He was basically, he's this French guy. He's a little fella. And he would work on all the guys. He was like a souped up chiropractor. He knew the physiognomy of all of everybody. And he would have these methods that he used to put the guys back in place or to mitigate their shoulder injury or their soreness or whatever. And he would get some of the bigger guys that were 300, 350 pounds or 7 feet tall or whatever. And here's this little guy. To get the leverage, they would be laying on the floor and he would be doing a handstand on their back with his feet propped up on the wall, 4 feet in the air so that he could get all of his weight into shoving all their shit in the right place. And it was fascinating to watch. And with Mick, especially with Mick Foley, he kept saying, Mick, you're like a whale. Your bones have no structure. They are malleable. And they move. He was literally moving Mick's skeletal structure around more than the average persons would move. And he said he believed that was why that Mick could take those bumps and not do any more damage than what he did to himself. But he was there for several years. I guess he was still there when I came back to Louisville, and I'm sure he's gone somewhere since then. You never hear of him anymore. But Dr. Francois Petit, it was fucking hilarious to watch him work on guys, but they loved it. And they said he made them feel better, at least the ones I talked to.
With that,
there you go.
With that, the drive-thru is closed. Oh, man, what happened here? Oh, man, what the fuck? All right, hold on.
What? Your musical instruments are going to hell over there.
I know. I need to get like a technician that just deals with my guitars and my basses and my little weird synthesizers.
Hotchkiss can do that for you. He's very musical.
I need someone to handle these instruments that has all their fingers.
That's true. He's down 2 now. He's only got 9.
I like Jerry Garcia, but well, whatever you got going on over there, whatever happens at Cornette Creek stays at Cornette Creek. And with that, The drive-thru is closed. We'll be back this weekend, I believe, with the Jim Cornette Experience, and back next week with the drive-thru wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Don't forget, access the archive of the drive-thru and the Experience by becoming a patron, patreon.com/Cornette. For only $5 a month, you get access to the archive from the very beginning in 2013. Get access today, patreon.com/Cornette. You can subscribe to the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Jim Cornette to see the incredibly popular videos, the clips, the full episodes, the omnibus collections, all with the very popular Travis Heckle artwork. Check it out today, the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. You can follow Jim on Twitter at @TheJimCornette. You can follow me on Twitter at GreatBrianLast. You can hear me on the 605 Superpodcast at 605pod.com. Available wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Don't forget about Cornette's Collectibles.
Don't forget, you've got a small window. October 1st, everything should go well. About a week or so later, I'm going to be swamped. I want to make sure everybody gets their Christmas presents this year, so order quickly while you have the opportunity.
Of course, the drive-thru is brought to you by the law office of Stephen P. New, 888-692-8084.
That's the number to call for intercourse.
Get even with Stephen and newlawoffice.com. Perhaps if you're a member of Iggy and the Stooges, you get even with Stephen for whoever sent in that last song. But until this weekend on The Experience and next week back here on the drive-thru, for Jim Cornette, I'm the Great Brian Last. Tally-ho!